Welcome back to the channel, our first podcast of 2024. We're back after a week off. I'm back from my holidays. I was back in the office today, back at work. Owen said to me before he came on, he's feeling a bit tired, and trust me, we're all feeling a bit tired just after that turn of the new year. The holiday season is over. If you're still lucky enough to be off, I'm sure you're coming to the end of it as well. But much to discuss since we have him in here. Going to be looking at Liverpool's one over Newcastle, where that leaves Liverpool, the influence of Mo Salah, where he ranks amongst the Premier League's greatest ever players. The likes of Salah, the likes of Henry, the likes of Rooney, is he on that level? Is he above them? How big a must will he be for Liverpool in the 3 games he's likely to miss in the Premier League? Liverpool actually have a busier month than most because of the Carabao Cup as well as the FA Cup. Possibly, if they were to draw the Arsenal as well, a potential replay. So Liverpool could have a very buzzy January compared to some other clubs. We'll be looking at that. We'll also be looking at Newcastle. Another heavy defeat where they've conceded 4 goals. Again, I'm probably lucky they only concede 4 as Eddie Howe under big pressure ahead of the North East Derby in the Cup this weekend away to Sunderland, who have been doing pretty well since Michael Beale took over. We'll be looking at Arsenal. Back-to-back defeats when many people consider them Man City's biggest rival this season. As their race already over, a lot of talk amongst the media. They haven't got the firepower. They aren't scoring enough goals from open play. We'll be looking at that. 13 points worse off than last season. Have they fallen off a cliff, basically? We'll look at the rest of the Premier League teams, including Man City, who many still see as favourites, only 5 points behind, with a game in hand. Spurs have won 4 of their last 5 games. That's despite having so many players missing, where we've seen at Newcastle, that's had such a big impact. Not so much at Spurs. So have they done really well? They stay with the pace. Man United, again, have had another false start. A great one against Villa, a great comeback, but then they go and lose to Nottingham Forest. Are they an inconsistent team? Or are they a poor team that can often get some good results? We'll discuss that. Back-to-back ones for Chelsea. Are they entering their best form of the season? Me and Owens also selected our teams of the season, like Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville. So we'll let you have a look at them. We'd love to hear your team of the season. We've also given our season predictions for the rest of the season. We did this back in August. I do think there is some changes to it. So we'll go through your Premier League winners, top 4, and our bottom 3. We'll be looking at why world-class players are failing as managers, the likes of Gerrard, Lampard, and Rooney this week, who was sacked after 15 games in charge. Is it the players' fault, or is it these sort of owners who are looking for a brand name, a big name star on? Who's to blame? And we'll also finally look at the FA Cup, which returns this weekend. How important is it to the top teams? As it, people say it's the best weekend of the year. Is it still the best weekend of the year for the Premier League teams, or is that just the feeling amongst the lower league teams? And we'll look at 5 or 6 of the key games this weekend and give our predictions on them. So, Owen, so much to discuss because we've been away for so long. I'm out of breath here already, but we are going to be on for quite a while tonight. Now, I thought tonight, or I was going to do it last night, but then I thought there was a Premier League game on. And I probably should have done it last night because it totally slipped my mind. The darts finals on the night, and everybody with this look litter, sensation. Everyone's looking to watch it. So there is a few watching here. So hopefully they do stay away. But I know the darts kicks off around 8 o'clock, and we'll still be on after that with so much to discuss. So Owen, before we get into it, how are you feeling? How was Christmas? How was the New Year? And you looking forward to the football now in 2024?
The new year couldn't have started off any better. Liverpool, top of the league. John Cena followed me on Twitter randomly yesterday.
What's going on there? I seen you started a new Twitter, and John Cena was the first person to follow you.
That was random as hell. I just followed him, and then they followed back. So, not a bad start to the new year. But in terms
maybe
of
he's one of the people I've seen a few watching. Maybe he's one of the people watching here. John Cena. I know he's a big Spurs fan, so maybe he's following the podcast.
Well, you never know. But no. And then in terms of football, that match on Monday night was mental. At halftime, I was ranting, but it all ended up well and good then. But the fact that it was 0-0 at halftime, I was just thinking, no, it's Newcastle's night here. But thankfully for me anyway, it didn't turn out that way.
I mean, it was a fantastic game to watch. I think in the end, Liverpool not taking all their chances made it a great game, because if they had took their chances, it wouldn't have been much of a game. Because I mean, they did absolutely dominate Newcastle. And it does take them. Yeah, and it does take them 3 points clear in the league of Aston Villa. I've heard a lot of Liverpool fans shout they're 5 points clear, but I think they're looking at Man City. They don't really see Villa as a threat. But at the minute, they're still only 3 points ahead of second place. I mean, as you sort of summed it up well there, Liverpool really should have been out of sight in the first half. Newcastle offered very little. And to be truth, they never really had a spell in the game where they did threaten. They might have had the odd chance here and there. But Liverpool dominated for large spells. I mean, how impressive was this display from Liverpool? I mean, Gallagher said he thinks it's the best he played all season. Would you agree?
I would, because I was going on it. I thought we would win, but I wasn't expecting us to play that well. I thought, to be fair, I know he gets a wild lot of stick, but I thought Joe Gomez. I think he's been one of our best players in the past month or two with the injuries, and as you probably seen my Facebook post about Endo too. He's been. I know Salah's away, but I think Endo will be a big miss as well when he's away with Japan. So
he had a very good December. I think before December, nobody really thought about him going to the Asian Cup, but now all of a sudden he's been playing that well in McAllister's absence. It's almost it's testament to Endo that people had kind of forgot about McAllister a wee bit.
Aye, but thankfully he's coming back now, just as Endo's leaving. I know it's not his position, but it's just the way we are at the minute. But for me, it was one of them games where I wanted they won obviously, but I wanted a performance, and I think I got that. And as I say, we should have been, if a certain someone had took his chances, as we'll probably get on to.
You know what? I'm not even going to discuss it anymore because it's just going over the same stuff. I've said it numerous times. I don't think anything has changed since. No, what we've seen from Nunez on Monday night is what we see with Nunez most times. He had a big contribution in the game. There's no doubt about it. He does cause trouble for defenders, but ultimately, when it comes to him with a goalkeeper, he often disappoints. I mean, he played a great pass for the goal, no doubt in that. But for me,
to be fair, I think
gotta be doing more. Gotta be doing more.
No, 100%. It does, and if he doesn't do more, we will have to look at it. But
Kieran sticking with him.
I'm in the same boat, but it's wearing very thin at the minute.
I mean, if that's a game where Liverpool draw the game 2-2. That becomes a big problem because they've won the game 4-2. It isn't a problem. But you think about the Luton game where he missed one, and it was harder to miss, and he got away with a few in the Europa League where he should have scored. But ultimately, in front of goal, he seems to be getting more shown, and I don't know what it's just. I don't know where it's his confidence. When he got subbed off, I looked at him, and he just looked so short on confidence. And it was a great pass for the goal, but I'm thinking if that's Salah, would he have passed it or would he have tried to score? And that's not to say it wasn't the right decision because in the end it was a great pass. But I just think he was so feared he must. He played the pass.
For me, I think Nunez is better off the left. He's more threatening off the left. I think with Salah, it'll be interesting to see how he play.
That was Diaz's best game for a long time too.
Diaz actually played the pass to Nunez, and I'm not going to lie, when Nunez got the ball, I was.
The darn said he's finishing Nunez.
Nah, I don't know. But it was actually Diaz who played the pass to Nunez, if I'm not mistaken. And then when Nunez got the ball, I was watching it with my friend, and when Nunez got the ball, the words came out of my mouth was "Do not shoot," because I just knew. But I don't know. It's a weird one because if he has time to think about it, I think he struggles. But you seen with the goal he scored against Burnley, no time to think about it, and he just slots it bottom corner like. So it's
seen that against Newcastle earlier in the season when he had them two chances outside. Was it outside the box? Were they? One was inside. They were from difficult angles.
I think one was inside and one was out. But I don't know, if he has time to think about it, he seems to struggle. But if he doesn't have time, he can score goals. He's just not consistent. And to be fair, I do think he should have scored at least two. But I do think a couple of his chances were good saves too by the keeper.
That's one to watch. I mean, I do think over the next few weeks, because a certain somebody's missing, this is Nunez's opportunity now, and this is where he's got to shine. This is where he's got to step up. As do some of the other players, not just him. It's not on him, but I mean,
I'm thinking.
Go ahead, sorry.
I'm thinking more Klopp put Diaz on the right, then Nunez for the left. Because for me, Jota has to start up front. He has to. I know there's a big debate, and he's 10 out of 10 diving Monday, but hey, But
you know what? We've got that much to discuss. I'm not even going to come on to that because I think everyone, even the most delusional Liverpool fans like you, told me it was never a penalty. So I don't think there's any debate in it.
No, I don't know. I don't know why he went down because he had an empty net. So.
It was a strange one, but anyway, it's all irrelevant. And to be fair, I think it would be very it would be wrong to discuss too much about that because I think Liverpool deserve a lot of credit for how they played. I mean, the one big thing that would worry you is if it wasn't for Salah, would they won the game for how well they played? And that's what I want to talk about because he's regarded as one of the best players in the Premier League right now, but I'm not sure he's talked about in the light of the likes of Henry, Rooney, Gerrard, Lampard's. I don't think maybe that's because he hasn't retired yet, but he has won a Premier League. He has won a Champions League. He's won an FA Cup. He's won everything he can at Liverpool, bar I think the Europa League, which isn't really considered. It is in the same breath as the likes of the Premier League and the Champions League. So
you'll get that this season.
I get that this season. I mean, where does he rank for you? I mean, 150 Premier League goals. And he's not finished yet. So this is a player that maybe he isn't a striker. People will say, well, he's playing like a striker. He's wide forward. It's different. He likes maybe Beckham and Giggs when they played. I understand that part. But he's not playing through the centre. And it's not as easy to score as many goals when you're coming on off a wing. So, I mean, he's just an absolute machine in front of goal.
Yeah, it's not even this season particularly. He's added assists too. Like that ball for Gakpo's goal was just that was one of the best passes I've seen all season. It's mental. But for me, I think
you're right to point that out. I think that's the one element of his game that's evolved this season is his passing and his ability, like the outside of the boot pass for one of the goals, and the other pass where he slapped it on. Was it Dijota? Was it?
I think it was.
And somebody tapped on the net, but both he didn't get the assist for that goal. But I mean, it was incredible. Darren saying it's 151. See, there is some discrepancy on this. Sky are saying 150. Darren saying 151. Is that to do with the Crystal Palace goal? Is that to do with possibly going down as an own goal because it was going wide and there's a discrepancy with he's been credited some ways and.
I've seen that too. I've seen some places say 150 and 151. Either way,
today, Sky sat him down to analyse his 150th goal, and it was his goal against Newcastle. So, Darren, I'm not sure where there is some sort of discrepancy. I think it's to do with possibly one of his goals being now going down as an own goal. Darren's saying that's the reason why. Stonewall Penn. I agree with Owen Jota through the middle. He's our best finisher. And Kieran saying you can't put him in the same breath as Rooney. You can't put Rooney in the same breath as Salah. So already some debate on it. I mean, as Darren says, 150, 151, it's around that, and he's not finished yet. So I mean, where does he rank amongst the Premier League greats?
He has to be top 5, doesn't he? Has to be. For me, I'm biased, but for me, it would be top 4. I would go with Henry. To me, Rooney's excellent, but I don't think there's much in it between Salah and Rooney. I don't want to get into that debate in case there's United fans watching, in case I get slandered like I did last time when I said Salah was better than Ronaldo in the Premier League, which I'm standing by. But for me, he's top 4 or 5 at least.
It depends what you base it on, isn't it? Do you base it on individual ability in terms of players like Ronaldo who played in the Premier League, or do you base it on longevity of how many years you do in the Premier League? Now, I don't think there's any debate that if Ronaldo had stayed, he would have put up more numbers, no doubt in that. But he did move to Spain. So should that be held against him or not? It just depends how you see it. But for me, I think it's down to longevity. Premier League legends, the likes of Shearer, the likes of Rooney, who spent most of their career in England, if not all of it. I would, and people may, because he didn't win anything, I would even throw Harry Kane in there. I think he's proven himself. He's definitely in the top 10 for me. Maybe not top 5, because he didn't win trophies. But, it really just depends. So, I mean, you mentioned Henry. You still rank Henry as higher now. I think there's obviously, he must be in the top 10 now of all-time top goal scorers, 150. I know.
He is.
He's level with Michael Owen, or as Darren says, maybe just 151, maybe just over one. I think there's a few in front of him, like maybe Defoe's on 162,
Aguero as well.
Aguero's on 184, is it? Henry's on 175. Now, you'd expect him to beat Henry because he's only, 24, 25 goals off. And we're here now, he can possibly get a new contract at Liverpool. So, I mean, does he have to, what does he have to do to be better than Henry? Because you sound like you're not just basing it on goals, you're basing it on all-round game.
Obviously, Henry in the Premier League, like it was but past my time because I was young when Henry was in the Prem. So, but for me, watching highlights of Henry, he could just do something out of nothing, and Salah can too. But I just think Henry was electric at times.
Callum reckons he's probably second behind Henry. So I mean, judging by that, Wooly, do you think he will be regarded as better than Gerrard when he retires? He'll be ranked above Gerrard and Liverpool's best ever players in the Premier League
Yeah,
era.
he already is for me. Like,
Mm.
maybe
Uh,
that's because he actually won the league too. So maybe that could be a thing. Like, I know
mm,
Gerrard. I know Gerrard could win a game single handed on his own, but so can Salah.
Let's because he didn't have the greatest first half. He obviously missed the penalty, but second half he was a
I'm
different level,
actually.
wasn't he?
It'll be interesting now when he does go. Who takes our penalties if we get one?
Well, I want to finish on a negative one. Now Salah is going to be away for 3 or 4 weeks. Now I've only put on the Premier League games here, because I think that's what we're going to focus on. He's going to
Probably.
he's definitely going to miss Bournemouth and Chelsea, and it's very likely if they get out of their group. I mean, it's the AFCON and the Asia Cup have gone very similar to how the Euros is now. It's 24 teams and 16 go through.
Yeah.
So it's nearly harder not to get through than it is, to go out. And Egypt are
Probably,
ranked first. So they're. I looked at their group. I think they're definitely going to finish in the top two. And even if they finish third, they're likely to get out of their group.
I'll be cheering on. I'll be cheering on whoever plays Egypt anyway.
Well, that's up. But if they won their group again, they're likely to play a third place team. So again, you'd expect them to make a quarterfinal. And if they mix a quarterfinal, they would miss the Arsenal game. Now, if they were to go all the way, they would only miss one more Premier League game, obviously, because the longer it goes on, there's obviously less games they play. So therefore, the games are played quicker. I think he might play between the quarterfinal and the final. It's played within 7 days, for example. So I think the final will be played on the week after Arsenal. I'm not sure who it is. I had a quick look. Was it Forest, is it?
It's one of them teams. No, is it Brentford?
Brentford, sorry, you could be right. It's one of them teams anyway.
It's a half 12, I think, against Brentford.
Right, so in particular, these 3 games are tricky because Bournemouth have been playing very well. I was at the Spurs Stadium on Sunday, and Bournemouth played very well, 3-1. Although Spurs that have the best chances, Bournemouth had a lot of the play. Probably lacked a little bit of quality at times. Solanke didn't have his greatest game. But they've been all before that Spurs game, they won 6 and drew 1. The only draw coming against Aston Villa, where they conceded the last minute goal. So they could have been getting into that Spurs game, having won their last 7 games. And I don't think any team's won 7 in a row this season in the league. So that shows you how difficult it is to do. So that's going to be difficult going to Bournemouth, where they've been very, very strong at home. Yep. Chelsea at home, I think Chelsea at the minute are possibly coming into their best moment of the season. Got some players back from injury. Cole Palmer's on a hot streak. And Cookie's coming back. They strengthen that attack. And Arsenal away, as we know, is going to be difficult. So, I mean, there's no easy games in the Premier League, but this schedule, it's tough without Salah. So, I mean, how do you see it going?
I mean, for me, I would use it as for spare the other players on. Like, at least when Salah comes back, still be in a position when we're fighting for the league, like, because he's desperate, as probably all the players are. He's desperate to win the league in front of a full Anfield, like. So it's an opportunity for players to step up. But Salah, you're not going to replace his goals, like you're not going to replace his assists. But
I think it makes it all the more difficult as well that Liverpool have such a heavy schedule in January. They've got the 2 games against Fulham coming up. They've got Arsenal away on Sunday. If that was to be a draw, they would have to play a replay. So we could potentially be looking at 7 or 8 games. And obviously, if they get through against Arsenal, whether that be in the first game or over a replay, they would have another FA Cup game. We don't know who that'll be against. So potentially looking at 7 or 8 games. I think that's going to be difficult if Salah is missing. Now, Liverpool do have a lot of attacking talent, but you're looking at 4 players then. They manage between them 8 games. I know Elliott can possibly come on and play off the right, but if we're looking at the 4 attackers, and Jota's quite injury prone. Nunez has been unreliable in front of goal. Diaz did play well the other night, but in front of goal hasn't been prolific. So it's very unlikely they're going to win all them games. So I mean, based on the Premier League, would you be happy if you get 7 points? If they were to beat Bournemouth, beat Chelsea, and draw away Arsenal, do you think that would be a good return?
I'd bite your hand off for it now.
And the bonus, I suppose, with the Fulham games is
He
They
wouldn't have
might
played.
only have to won. They might only have to win one of them games to get through. They could possibly
And,
if they beat them 2 or 3-0 at home, they could go away to Fulham and even lose 1-0 or 2-1 and still be okay.
to be fair, like we'll get on to it, but if I already said to you before, but if we lose the Arsenal on Sunday, I'm not going to be too bothered.
Would you? I suppose it's hard to ask a fan this, but do you think the worst result on Sunday is a draw?
Because you don't want extra games. I would
Mm.
I would rather go out than have a replay. Like.
I was actually looking at the way they want their breaks falling for Arsenal and Liverpool. They're in the same side of it. They're in the second part. They would both have to come back from their winter breaks early. They play that game because they would have to play on the Wednesday before their game on the Saturday or the Sunday.
We have, I think it's Arsenal now on Sunday and then Fulham next week, and then we're off for a break, isn't it?
So they would literally only have a 7-day break because they would have to come back and play Arsenal the week after on the Wednesday. So they would only have the weekend off. So it doesn't give them much opportunity.
No, like if we win, I'll be happy. If we lose, I'll not be too angry, which is weird because I love the FA Cup, but because of the position we're in the league, we have to prioritize that, especially when Salah's away. For me.
Well, come on, they talk about the FA Cup in a while, but Darren's saying he would be more worried if they lost Van Dijk. He thinks that the front lads will step up. And there's no doubt there's ability in these lads. I just worry that with so many games, there's going to be slips on there. It'll be very hard to win all them games, even if you were, even in Man City, for example, and their pomp had all them games. I would imagine they would have they'd have an off game somewhere. And you would imagine as well, when we all them games, and especially if they have a replay in there, they're going to have to rotate the team. They couldn't play the same team week in, week out the whole month.
And on Sunday for Arsenal, I expect to see like Kelleher and Kwanzaa and like I expect to see some like first team players, but it'll be a mix and match for me.
Well, come on to talk about the game on Sunday as we move on towards the end. But I want to speak a wee bit about Newcastle, who obviously Liverpool beat on Monday night. I mean, why do you think they've become so easy to play against? Because this is a team last year that nobody looked forward to playing. They were strong, physical. There was also a lot of people were saying they were, when they were winning games, they were good at slowing them down and taking their time. And they were very, like a Joint and Gamarius, they were all really, really difficult players to play against. And it just seems to flip-flopped. I mean, I was speaking to Callum today, and he was saying how good Liverpool were, and there's no doubt Liverpool were good. But if you look at Newcastle's results over the last month, they've been slapped by Spurs, slapped by Liverpool, slapped by Forest, slapped by Everton, who all scored at least 3 goals. Spurs and Newcastle scored 4. So, I mean, the common denominator and all that's Newcastle. So, should Liverpool fans not get too carried away with that game, because Newcastle over the last 3 or 4 weeks have been getting absolutely smashed?
Aye, but to be fair, like, you can only beat what's in front of you, and Liverpool were excellent. As much as Newcastle were bad, Liverpool were very good. But it's a weird one to say why they've become so easy to play against. It could.
They're absolutely knackered.
That as well.
But how long can that excuse go on? Because we've seen Brighton with a lot of injuries beat Spurs 4-2, and they're very, very convincing. We've seen Spurs manage pretty well, and they did that sticky start, but performances were there. The Villa game, the West Ham game, they were possibly unlucky not to get points out of them. Whereas Newcastle's performances have actually been worse than the results. I mean, that was actually a good result. They aren't getting bit 4-2. It could have been 10-2. Spurs, we watched the Spurs game. They made Spurs look like the Harlem Globetrotters, because I was very excited after that game, and Spurs haven't played anywhere near that since. They haven't got to that level yet. Forest, I know they beat Man United, but against Newcastle, they ran them ragged. Everton beat them 3-0, and Everton have been on a bad run since now. So, I mean,
Luton beat them as well.
It's not just the results; it's the performances from Newcastle that's really, really, really worrying.
Aye, and you forgot to Luton beat them as well, 1-0.
Well, I didn't mention that because it was they weren't smashed in that game, but they lost that game too.
It's a hard one because they have so much quality, and they have a lot of injuries, but they just, as Darren said there, they do look very out, and like they look knackered, but they are right. I noticed like Anthony Gordon, he would normally chase back like a madman, but
he looked shattered.
When people got past him, he was just like, right, I'm done here. I'm not even bothered to run back. But I think it's a big game now coming up for them on, is it Saturday, Sunday they're playing it?
So Saturday, 1:45. I must speak about that now, because
it's massive.
It's massive because Newcastle come into this game as favourites, even though they're not in great form. Their fans and the media, well, maybe not all the media, but definitely their fans come into this thinking, no, we're the favourites. We're Newcastle. Sunderland's in the Championship, although they're playing well.
Yeah,
we're a Champions League team here. We should be going there and putting a few past them. And Sunderland's going to be sold out. It's one of the bigger grounds, to be in the Championship. I think over 40,000 fans will be there. It'll be sold out. The place will be pumping. They haven't met for 7 years. I mean, is this a nightmare game for Eddie Howe? Because he's got everything to lose and nothing really to gain, has he?
No, I was just going to say, I think if they lose this on Saturday, I think it could be very tough for Eddie Howe to come back from, because the Newcastle
Man City and Aston Villa after.
Aye.
Man City at home and Aston Villa after away. So Man City at home and Villa away, which Villa away is very tough. So
and Man City wherever you are is tough really. So it's not going to be an easy ride for them, and I don't think it'll be an easy game for them on Saturday either. Sunderland, as you say, will be up for it because they haven't played each other in 7 years, did you say? So
yeah. It'll
be interesting if they do lose that. Will he be in the dugout for the Man City game?
Well, I think it depends how bad it is. I can't see any way they'll get absolutely ripped apart like they were against Liverpool and Spurs, for example. But I think if they lose, I think this is the one where the fans have been backing him, and rightly so, because he's done a great job. He's possibly a victim of his own success, getting them to the top four last year where no one expected it. And things have gone against them, like such Champions League games against PSG, AC Milan. Could have went their way. And wasn't them games weren't down to performance, whereas the likes of the games against Spurs, Forest, and Liverpool, Everton were per performances. But I mean, this could be the one where if they lose this, the fans will be very angry. All we hear, I don't live in the Northeast, but all you hear from people that are from the Northeast is football. As they go to work, they pay for their football tickets. They don't not they pay house bills. So it's very, very passionate up there. Both sets of supporters. I've seen Sunderland until I die. They're just as passionate as Newcastle fans. So, I mean, if they really lose this, do you see the fans possibly turning on them?
Oh, I think some of the fans from online, I know you can never base on are they match going fans or not, but from what I've seen online, most of the fans are sticking with him, but there is a few murmurs of going
the injury excuse won't work against Sunderland.
No, that's what I mean. No matter how many injuries you have, no matter what you're playing, no matter how you're playing.
To be fair, against Liverpool, they were almost back at full strength.
Yeah,
they were only missing a couple.
If you're away to Sunderland, that's basically the biggest game as a Newcastle fan. So they'll expect the players and managers to be up for that, but I think it'll be a good watch. I think it'll be an interesting game.
I think if it was to lose the Sunderland and lose the Man City and Villa, I think he will be very, very, very not fortunate, because I don't think he should be sacked, but I think he'd be under extreme pressure then, because especially their league position, they'll find themselves in their ninth. I think that they're ninth now. They would find themselves possibly in the bottom half. European football would look miles off. They're out of the FA Cup, out of the League Cup, and then the end, which was supposed to be a promising season, a season they build on, will have just they would have fallen off a cliff, and I think he could possibly lose his job.
And especially the owners that they have, them Saudi owners, they want success and they want it now. They're not going to hang around if there's better managers out there, which at the moment I can't really see. I know there's Graham Potter, but he's the only name I can think of. But they'll be looking. I'm sure in the background they'll be looking for managers if this goes pear-shaped in the next few weeks.
Personally, if it was me, even if they lost all them games, I would ride it out the end of the season. See how it goes between now and the end of the season, because your season's basically over anyway, and give them a chance to turn it around. Obviously, I'm hearing FFP, January transfer windows open. They're not really able to do anything, so they may have to sell somebody in the summer. They raise funds, a bit like what Aston Villa did for Grealish, Liverpool did for Coutinho.
I know Bruno Guimaraes has a 100 million release clause, so that could be something to look at.
I think he's the most likely, from what we're hearing, that he could possibly be the one.
I'd take him in Liverpool tomorrow.
But he hasn't. He's gone backwards this season. I think he's not been. He's been one of the players that has been fit, and he's really struggled. And he seems to be very erratic, very rash. He was very lucky. I thought he could have been sent off the other night.
For the tackle,
not so much for a straight red, but just an accumulation of poor tackles.
He's up. I think he's already. I think I seen when he did get booked. I think he's on 8 yellow cards already. So if he gets two more, he's suspended or again.
Uh, um, I mean, let's talk about Arsenal because they were seen as well by a lot of people as the most likely winners if Man City were off their game. You know, great result away at Liverpool. Everyone was saying, this is the making of Arsenal going to Anfield, getting a good result, defensively sound. West Ham, you could say the West Ham game was one of them ones where they probably did everything to put the ball in the net. Yeah. And then they go to Fulham, and it was a really different performance. Fulham were well worthy of the one from the highlights I seen. Obviously, I was at the Spurs game at the time, so I didn't get to see the game live. I've seen the highlights back and listened to a lot of Arsenal fans, and they were saying Fulham deserved it. So, I mean, where does that leave Arsenal at the minute? They're 5 points behind Arsenal. 5 points behind Liverpool. I've seen Carragher's piece on them on Monday Night Football. I think Carragher's piece was good, but I think it's possibly what a lot of people thought. They haven't got the firepower. I've seen today they've got the worst. If you combine all their goals from their front three, everyone's main front three, which Arsenal would be Saka, Jesus, Martinelli, they're only in 12 goals. And I think the next best is 19. So there's 7 goals, and that was Aston Villa. I think Liverpool have 22, 23, Spurs have 23, Man City have 25. Sorry, I think Liverpool have 24. Man City 25, Arsenal 24, Spurs 23. And then you look at Arsenal, and they've got half of that. So I mean, where does it leave them? Do you think that they're out of it already? Do you see it now as between City and Liverpool?
I wouldn't say they're out of it because they have us at home in a few weeks, and if they go and win that, then people will be saying they are. People will be all Liverpool's out of it and Arsenal's back in it. So it can flip flop like. But I've said it. I just think Liverpool and Man City are going to be the ones fighting it out. And you'll see later on
like old times.
To be fair, I wish it was Liverpool and Arsenal fighting it out because Arsenal would battle it and then we'd win the league.
Aren't saying there was a statement from Stefan a few weeks ago.
Arsenal
were better than Liverpool's, and now their problem is firepower. I think Arsenal Liverpool's coming up in the league in a few weeks' time, so I think we're going to try and get Darren on. Well, with Stefan to see if he's changed his tune. Interestingly, Stefan's been unreachable all weekend. I've been trying to get hold of him.
I also remember a few times Stefan said, "Oh, Liverpool's downfall by Joe Gomez, and he's been one of our best players." So, but it's a weird one. But they need a striker, but I can't. The name I'm hearing, and everyone's probably hearing, is Ivan Toney, but I can't see Brentford letting them go in January, especially with the position they find themselves in at the moment.
We'll speak about that in a few months because it's an interesting one. But Stefan, an Arsenal fan, I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans praise Arteta, praise Arsenal this season for this controlled style of play, where they haven't been as fluent going forward, haven't maybe created as many chances as they were last season. The football wasn't as good to watch, and it was all for this control. But the stats now show you they've conceded more goals, scored less, and they're boring to watch. I mean, this doesn't me saying it's a Spurs fan. I've seen Arsenal fans say it. They're boring to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't enjoy watching Arsenal games. I think they're poor to watch at times because they're so, so possession, slow. They don't want to give the ball away, and it's very stiff. And it's all about keeping the ball and recycling it. Whereas I watch Liverpool, I watch Spurs, I watch Aston Villa. But I watch these other teams, Liverpool, Spurs, Villa. It's all front foot attacking football.
Even Brighton.
Have Arsenal gone backwards? Really? When we're looking at they're not scoring as many. They're conceding less or conceding more, and they're worse to watch.
Well, the stats don't lie, and they're 13 points worse off. Now that could be counteracted too. That could be counteracted too by all other teams getting better. Like last season, like I saw a stat today. This point last season, Liverpool were 10th.
Well, the 13 points worse off. I think that it looks worse than what it is because they had set such an incredible standard last year, where they had like 53 points after 20 games, and they've only 40 this year. And if they had them 53 points this season, they would be what 8 clear Liverpool or 7 clear Liverpool.
Oh my God, it's mad.
So I mean, they were on fire last year in that first half of the season. So there, you could possibly say it was inevitable there was going to be some sort of drop off. But I mean, do, do you see them being involved at the end with Man City and Liverpool?
I think I'll give a spoiler for my predictions, like as I said, but I do think they'll be top three, but not top two. So I do I
Callum saying, how can you be 5 points off the title, spend 200 million plus and be objectively worse after a season? Makes a great point. And
yeah,
I don't think anyone would argue Rice hasn't made him better in certain areas. So I wouldn't say it's down to him. I think it's more down to the manager. The style of
no,
play doesn't suit the players that they have. I think Saka, Martinelli, Jesus, they all want to be playing on the front foot, not this sort of playing with this restraint. Like it's very much it's very football manager based, tactic
yeah.
based. You look at
I
that first goal Liverpool scored the other night. It was free flow. Obviously Liverpool work on stuff, but that was just pure down the initiative, off the cuff, 1 and 2 touch, and they opened Newcastle up for the first goal.
no.
Arsenal, I don't see that because I think a lot of it's down to they have to be in certain positions, they have to do certain things, and it's almost micromanaged from the sideline. I
So
think
you see
Arteta's
it,
clear to what happened last season, where they lost a lot of games and drew games 2-2, 3-3. That he sort of wants to sacrifice that, they make him better, but it doesn't look like it's working.
no, and you see it too. Like he played what do you call him, Kivior at left back, and he's a centre back, and that didn't work against Fulham. He's been playing Sinchenko in like the centre mid role, but Sinchenko's just fallen off a cliff this season as well. He's been terrible, and
Mm.
I think their two centre backs have been good. Saliba's probably one of the best young centre backs in the world, if not the best. But I do think at times too their defense has let them down. At times, like against Fulham, I think the first goal Fulham scored, it was just a ball to Jimenez, split them open.
I think you have to lay the blame at the manager's door because
Yeah.
he's made some big calls and he's got most of them right. But I just wonder in the summer, was it necessary they mess about with the keeper department? Ramsdale was doing a decent job. I don't think Raya's made him any better.
Yeah.
I heard a great point from one of the Arsenal commentators on YouTube that Brentford, or he doesn't want to hear how good Raya was at Brentford. He's not interested in how good he was. And I suppose I've been saying for a long time on here that he was really good at Brentford and he could come. You expect him to get better, but that is irrelevant, really, how well a player is at our clubs. I mean, Salah didn't do great at Chelsea, but you don't care about
Yeah.
that. You know what I mean? So
No.
we have to judge him on his Arsenal, what he's done at Arsenal, and it hasn't worked out. It's
And
made both keepers worse in terms of their
yeah.
confidence.
And
He didn't.
another
He
one, I
refused
think,
to buy a striker in the summer.
and that
He's
didn't
stuck
work.
with Jesus. He's stuck with Nketiah, who aren't prolific goal scorers. That hasn't worked out. He didn't bring in a replacement for Saka. He looks absolutely burnt out. People were saying Salah's played as
I
many
think-
games, but Salah's used to it. Salah's a seasoned, experienced
Yeah.
player. Saka's still a young player. He's getting used
I
to this.
don't
So
think.
he's got a
I
lot of
don't
the big
think.
decisions wrong.
And I think the midfield of Havertz, Rice, and Odegaard, that just doesn't work.
Sorry, that was an R one.
Uh,
Havertz. He put all his money on Havertz when there's other players out there, the likes of Madison, or even signing a striker that would have been a better
See, I
fit
thought
for Arsenal.
I thought when they signed Havertz, they signed him to play striker. So, but having him play with Odegaard in the midfield hasn't working because I think Odegaard last season was one of the best midfielders in the league. But this season again, he's just gone backwards, and I see a lot of Arsenal fans saying he has more hair flicks than assists so far this season. But I agree with you. Like Arsenal are born to watch, and you could sort of label that a Man City a touch as well. But the difference with Man City is they recycle the ball. They're on the front foot. They can play like attacking football when they want to, and they're good at. Which is another thing that confuses me with Arteta because he started off at Man City, so he knows the way Pep plays, and I think he's trying to
I
be too
think
much
he's
like Pep.
I think he's overthinking it too much. He's trying to do
Aye.
it in a way it's not been done before, trying to have a style that's not like Klopp, not like Pep, trying to have his own style, trying to do it his way. And I think he's trying to make it all about him. And it's really
Yeah.
backfiring. I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans this week have criticised him and said if he doesn't do it this year, it's time to move on because if they finish in the top four this year, do you give him another 200 million or do you say, look,
Aye.
and I mean, a lot of Arsenal fans said have been saying he has to win a trophy this season to get another year. Whether that be an FA Cup, even he has to win something to show that there's
Yeah.
some sort of progression. Because it's very much like, when Liverpool at Brendan Rodgers, they had periods of success under him in terms of getting on the second place, but they needed an elite manager to get them over the line. And that's the thing that could be labelled at Arteta, that he's done really good work at Arsenal, but as they demand to get them over the line. Because I think the longer it goes on, you've seen this with Pochettino with Spurs, the longer it goes on, the harder it gets they won. Because the players start losing interest. Players at the end of the day they're like robots. I mean, if they see the results, they'll keep believing in it. But if they see a team that keeps finishing second, third, they're going to start to believe that this isn't the way forward, and it can turn very, very quickly.
So you see it already at United last season. They finished third, fourth, did they? And then look at them now this season. But I also think we Arteta, like, it's a good point you bringing up Brendan Rodgers. I actually saw an Arsenal fan say Arteta is our Brendan Rodgers. He's that type of manager. Will get you there third or fourth, but he won't win you anything. I know Arteta won the FA Cup in his first season, but he hasn't won anything since then, and he hasn't won any of the
Well, this is the argument that Arsenal fans have made too, that he seems to disregard the cups. So it'll be interesting to see how strong he goes on Sunday, because if they go out of that, the pressure's on, because it means they have to deliver the Premier League or the Champions League. And for me, that's going to be difficult, because I think at the minute Man City and Liverpool are stronger. And
the Champions League, you have Real Madrid.
They may be better suited to win that, but that's still, you could get to the final and lose. That's just, it's no guarantee. It's one game on one day, so you can't guarantee anything that way. Finally, on Arsenal, I mean, you look at Man City and you think about their world-class players: Liverpool, Salah, Van Dijk, the goalkeeper. They Arsenal have any? I mean, in your mind, do you look at any of Arsenal's players and think, world class? Now, I think you look at someone like Saka, and you could say potentially in 2 years' time he could be. But right now, this season, he's not on Saka. He's not on Salah's level.
No, and I've seen people last season saying, Saka's as good as Salah. He is nowhere near. He can't, he's young. He will get better. He will become, in my opinion, a world-class player. But for now, no. I think the only player that could have been possibly labelled as world-class maybe last season, not so much this, would be Odegaard. But as I said, he's went off a cliff. So for me, no, Arsenal have quality players, but they don't have world-class players for me.
Darren saying Odegaard. I'm not sure about that. Callum saying Rice, possibly, but is he world-class right now? That's the thing.
Saliba, maybe Saliba.
Good players. They haven't got a strong manager. I think a lot of it's down to the manager. I do think they've got some good players there.
Do you think if you put Klopp in Arsenal's team, they won the league as Arsenal's manager? That's the difference.
I think they go closer. I really do. I'm not sure if they won it, because I think Man City, but we'll see. I don't want to give away my predictions. Finally, I meant to bring this up. You mentioned them earlier, Tony. If they don't buy a striker, can they win the league this year?
Nope.
No. Should they go out for Ivan Tony now, or should they maybe just leave it to the summer, because we're hearing that it's going to cost 80 million to get him out of Brentford?
For me, you're seeing too, I've seen reports today that Arsenal can't go on for him because they have to watch FFP.
Well, I heard that they're one of the assets they sell will be Ramsdale, but Newcastle can't, or the most upset team, they can't do it. So
and then I seen on Sky then it said Arsenal have no desire to sell Ramsdale. It would have to be a mad offer for him.
They're going to put that out there because they want to keep his value up, don't they? Apparently, they want 40 million for him. If they put out there, they're trying to sell him. Teams will start.
I seen Chelsea link with Ramsdale as well, but I think for Newcastle, I've seen a lot of links with David De Gea for them.
I think that Chelsea keeper that's come on because of the injury for Sanchez has done quite well.
He came from the MLS, didn't he? But I think
Chelsea were cruising at the weekend, but he made some big saves at the end to keep the score 3-2. James, why you would. Well, the problem's FFP, James, and I think teams are. We've seen today, Forest are being watched, Everton are being watched again, Arsenal and Newcastle have to be very careful, Chelsea to be careful. It all points to a very quiet January window. Owen, do you expect a lot of teams to be trying to get loan deals done? And, it'll have to be sell to buy in this window?
I can't. I was hoping Liverpool would sign a centre back, but I think that's been quashed because we've just recalled Nat Phillips. So yay! So I think
I do think Everton's deduction but has made teams very, very worried now that
uh,
they don't want to take chances and they don't want to
even
be caught.
even teams like Man United, you're hearing they might
Loans.
sign they might sign a striker, but it won't be. I seen them like today with
Timo Werner on loan.
Timo Werner, Thomas Muller, and some other boy from the Bundesliga.
Let's look at the rest of the Premier League here at the top, because a lot of teams, a lot of games over Christmas.
Yeah.
Man City, of course, won the Club World Cup and now find themselves only 5 points off with a game in hand. Home to Brentford, who have been struggling. You can't take any for granted, but you expect them. They won that. I mean, that's probably going to be played at some point between now and the end of February, I would imagine. I mean, how do you see it? I know you have your predictions coming up, so I don't want to give you away, but from a bird's eye view, do you still think Man City are considered the favourites, or do you think Liverpool have reclaimed that?
No, Man City in a lot of people's eyes are still favourites, and obviously they probably are favourites. Like they've been there, done that. They're going for four in a row, but I don't want to give away my predictions, so I'll save it. But I don't know.
Do you think if Liverpool were to lose the league by 2 or 3 points, they lost it in them games against United and Arsenal at home and Man City were away?
I think, to be fair, I think drawing with Luton too hasn't helped, or Brighton.
I get that, but that was a one-off game back then. I think the fact that Man City were away, if Man City were coming back and they were having to chase these down with 9 points, that makes it more difficult.
It will be difficult. Like if we lose it by 2 points, and you'll think back we should have been generating
because you think about it, right? They had chances to beat United, and Trent's chance they hit the bar. If they find a way to beat United, and they beat the Trent chance goes in, we're not sitting here talking about Man City's favourites because you can't be favourites when you're 9 points behind. Especially a team that's only lost one game.
And again, like Man City, they're favourites probably, yes, but they still have to come to Anfield.
I just think if Liverpool don't want it, they'll look back. Was it them 6 days between Man United and Arsenal? 2 home games where Liverpool are notoriously strong, and they didn't beat one of them. They only get 2 draws. I think that'll be a killer if they lose the league this year. Obviously, there's a long way to go, and there might be our slip-ups in there, but I just think when Man City were away, the fact that Man City come back, if they won their game in hand, they're only 2 points behind, and they were further. Man City actually come back in a better position than when they left.
It's a weird one though, because I just think this season's been so mad. I think there'll be our slip-ups from all teams. Like so, Man City are probably favourites just about, but you'll see in my predictions.
How many points do you think you'll need to win it? So, do you think Man City will go on that mad run, or do you think this is going to be a different kind of season?
I just think it'll be a different season. I would say we're in the 80s, like they won it. I'd say 85, 6, 7 maybe. Maybe even more than that.
I think somewhere between 85 and 87, 88. I think. I'll be surprised if anybody won it with less than 85 points. That hasn't been done for a long time. I think since Leicester won it with 81. I know it's been a topsy turvy year, but I don't think that the standard is as bad as it was then. Leicester, Spurs, Arsenal, I think were the top 3, and Arsenal were struggling at the time under Wenger. Spurs, I think that season Spurs didn't won any of their first 4 or any of their last 4. They got something like 3 points in their first 4 and 2 points in their last 4. So that's really
if I remember right too in that season, like Arsenal beat Leicester close to the end of the season.
They beat them twice that season, and Leicester still won it. So I mean, it'll be interesting. Liverpool have no excuse; their team is good enough. Be interesting.
I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
We're in a position now. Obviously, it's easy to say we win every game, but we're in a position now where we need not slip up in games. Like we're in a position now that this is probably our best chance to win the league. Like
season. How big do you think these 3 games you spoke about earlier? I mean, if they can survive them 3 without Salah, I think that gives them a huge opportunity.
If we don't lose any of them, I'm saying we're going to be.
Well, that's that. But 3 draws is nearly as bad as 1-1 and losing 2. That's the thing that's
I know
why we're going.
we have
People
to
say to me
we
they've
have to
played 20
win.
games, only lost 1, but they've drawn like 6 or 7. I think that's why
Yeah.
they haven't shot clear. So, I mean, if you
If we're
draw 3, you're better lose 1 and
yeah,
2 and losing 1. So it's one of them scenarios where I
as
think you could
we
even look at it 69 points.
as we said earlier, like I would take beating Bournemouth, beating Chelsea, and drawing with Arsenal. But if we can somehow win all three, which I don't think we'll do realistically, but if we can somehow win all three, then we're in with a great chance. And I mean, I don't know when the Man City game is. I think it's March.
Mm.
If we're
Obviously, go
if
ahead,
we're
sorry.
in if we're in a position when we play Man City that say we're sitting 3 points ahead, even if we get a draw at home to Man City, 3 points ahead, I'd bite your hand off, rightly.
I think if Liverpool were to come out of January, right, and the Carabao Cup final, and still 5 points ahead of City with a game in hand, they'd be in a great position.
Oh, let's just see if Liverpool won the league this season. You'll never want me on this podcast again. I'm telling you.
Now, I was looking, and you could say Newcastle away is tricky, but the way Newcastle are playing at the month, it's not. Man City have a very favourable run. I think their next 8 games, they don't play any team in the top 8. Newcastle's the highest placed team. They play at 9th. So you'd imagine they'll accumulate a lot of points. So it's coming on a very crucial period for Liverpool, not to make any slip-ups. I think if they get 7 points out of them games, draw with Arsenal away, it'd be a great return. They'll not be too worried about the FA Cup, I don't think, even if they lose that game on Sunday. I think if they won the 2 games against Fulham or won the tie over 2 games, and they're still top of the league come February, they'll be happy.
If you give me a choice now of losing the Arsenal now at the weekend, but getting a point in the league game, I'd take that.
4 1s in 5 games for Spurs. I mean, a lot of talk about injuries this season. Brighton done a really good. They were brilliant against Spurs, have to say. Excellent.
Could have ended
4-4. In that game, Spurs lost, but they tired towards the end. And Spurs, could, as you say, could have got a draw. It was a crazy game, brilliant game to watch. Really enjoyed it. And again, it was one of the games for how good Brighton were. Spurs helped them out, 2 penalties, and they obviously Estepinian scored an absolute screamer. So Spurs really helped them out again with the goals. But it was a great game. And Brighton, to be fair, were struggling before that with injuries. I think they've only won 3 of their last. And they drew last night too. They've only won 3 of their last 14 in the league.
I think last night was their first.
Well against Spurs. What's that? Sorry.
Last night was their first clean sheet of the season.
It was their first clean sheet, as you rightly point out. But for how well they done against Spurs, they struggled in that period with injuries. We see Newcastle struggled. Spurs have won 4 in their last 5. And as we said, the 5 before that, when they lost Madison Van de Ven 10 games ago. So they haven't won any of them first 5, actually, but they've won 4 of their last 5. But on them 5 that we speak about, we spoke about Villa, West Ham. They were quite unlucky to lose them games. And obviously draw away at City was good. So
Van de Ven's coming back.
Well, we're going to speak about that now, but I mean, are you surprised that Spurs have managed to stay near enough? I know they've fallen behind at the top maybe a wee bit, but they're only 1 point behind 4th, 3 points behind 2nd. I mean, have you been impressed with it?
To be fair, with the amount of injuries you've had, as you like to remind me,
because they've been playing fullbacks. They've been playing fullbacks at centre back, haven't they? So,
I mind the year we had to do that with Jordan Henderson and Fabinho, and it does regular season, but as you say, like they've done well, they stay in the conversation for top 4, even because when they got all them injuries, I thought Spurs were going to drop down to 7th, 8th, 9th here, but it just shows like Ange has his way of playing, and I gets criticised at times when he's conceded a load of shots and a load of goals, but he's not going to change it by the looks of things, and he's are getting players back from injury now. He's are getting Van de Ven back. He's are signing that centre back from. He's are signing that
top 4. From Genoa, Dragosing.
I haven't seen much of him, to be fair.
I reckon that'll be done. That'll be done before the Man United game.
He's won the lower one too, don't you?
25 million. Well, I think that'll be the only centre back they'll sign in January. I don't think they'll sign another one. James saying Spurs fantastic so far. I mean, if they get that centre back, and that'll be a big boost. But the biggest boost I've seen today is Van de Ven is back. Now you could possibly even make the squad on Friday night against Burnley in the FA Cup, but he's a shoe-in to be in for the Man United game next week. I've also heard that Madison is very, very close as well. Could possibly be back for the Man United game, if not Man United, the Brentford game after. And it would mean then they'd only be missing Bentaker, obviously come back at the weekend ahead of schedule. Looked a wee bit rusty, but you'd expect well, that's what I'm saying. But Bentaker come back, he's a big player for us. He gets 60 minutes. You'd expect him to get an hour, maybe 60 minutes on Friday night. So come Man United, he'll be primed and ready for a game. A 90-minute game anyway. Yeah. So other than the players that are going to the AFCON and the Asia Cup, Sar, Basuma, and so on, they're near enough back at full strength. And when they get them players back for February, providing obviously there's going to be injuries between now and then, but if they get themselves to February with a fully fit squad, how far do you think they can push on between now and then of the season?
I think I do, even though it's only 6 points from usually Liverpool, I think that's far gone. I don't think Liverpool will drop that many points, but I do think you could push up the near third maybe, because Arsenal is only a point off Arsenal, and I think if you had said that at the start of the season, you'd be thinking we're sitting first or second. But full credit to Spurs, they have dealt with the injuries better than a lot of people expected. As I say, I expected you to fall off a lot, but it's credit to the coaches and the players that you've had to bring in. Ben Davis has played centre back and he's done relatively well, and
it's harsh because he's going to be dropped like a stone without the ankles back, but that's just what happens.
That's what I was going to say. Do you think he'll put him in straight away for the United game, even if he's not 100%?
Van de Ven will definitely play against Man United because of his pace and the high line. Yeah. And from what I'm hearing, Romero could be back ahead of schedule as well. He trained today. Now I'm not sure if he'll make United, but
I also
Spurs could go on to that United game. Now it's very unlikely, but if they had Romero, Van de Ven, Madison all back for that, it would make them very strong. Obviously they'd be missing Son, Sar, and Basuma. He's been excellent, especially Son and Sar, because Basuma's missed a lot of the season with suspensions, silly suspensions. But
I think United get a few players back too. They have Casemiro.
Mana's going to be there. I think that's a boost for Spurs. He isn't going to the AFCON until after that game, which apparently is down because he's afraid to lose his place in the team. And that's who we're going to speak about next, because United, another false start. They come back from the dead against Villa. And it does beg the question now. As this what Man United are, 10 wins, 1 draw, 9 defeats, and the 1 draw, was back to the wall stuff against Liverpool. If Liverpool found a way through, they'd be sitting here with 10 wins, 10 defeats. So, that is unacceptable to be losing that many games this early in the season. They're definitely going to go into the double digits for losing. They could be United could lose maybe 15, 16 games this season. So, I obviously it's I think for United it's between now and getting to the end of the season. But I think all the stats point this is going to be extremely hard for Ten Hag to keep his job.
I think I do. Now with Ineos coming in and all that they're doing a strategic review. I think Ten Hag will be gone in the summer.
I think that Villa game saved them, to be honest. And as well as we spoke about Spurs are doing well, I think a lot of the teams around Spurs have helped them out. Arsenal lost back-to-back games. Villa have had a bit of a stumble. If them teams had stayed true, Spurs may have been further behind. Man City obviously had a bit of a stumbling block as well. At one point, they only won 1-6. So a lot of the teams didn't really take advantage of them injuries that Spurs had. And it's going to work out in Spurs' favour, because I do expect Spurs, now with these players to come back, they start shooting up that league table. Maybe not the top, but definitely in that third, fourth spot.
You would just hope for Spurs' point of view, before we get on the United again, you would just hope for Spurs' point of view that there's no reoccurrences of the injuries when they do come back.
Well, no in our luck. His first game back, Van de Ven clutches the hamstring, gone.
Let's say about United. I think they're just a poor team that gets good results, as it says there, because there's inconsistent. But how do you play that well against Villa and then play that poorly against Forest?
Darren's saying that he says they people after the Villa game that if they don't beat Forest, it means nothing. And he's right, because I was doing Chris Collins doing like a Chris Sutton, like Mark Lawrence used to do, BBC Max, where he brings a guest on every week. They predict against them. And I actually done it this week. And I actually won, to be fair. It was 5 points for a correct score and 2 points for a correct result. And I beat him. I think it was 20 14 I beat them. I got 3 correct score. I got the Forest 2-1. I got the Spurs 3-1. And I got who played on Sunday? No, Spurs or somebody else on
Arsenal,
Saturday. I got
Arsenal played on Sunday. I can't remember on Saturday. Chelsea was it not?
Saturday. No. I predicted Luton. They won that game. Only got 2 results wrong. Luton was 1, and I think Arsenal was the other one. I predicted a draw.
I can't remember now who played.
Somebody hour 1 hour game on the Saturday. I predicted a correct result anyway. But
was it Crystal Palace and Brentford?
Nah, 3-1. I predicted something like 1-0 Palace there. Can't remember anyway, but it was. I mean, Chris had the same. He had done Forest 2-1 as well. So I mean, everyone fancied Forest, and that tells you everything about where this United team are at.
They've done it so many times this season. Like they went and got a good draw against Liverpool. United fans were saying, "Oh, we're back. This is us." Then they go and lose to West Ham. And then I think I predicted. I think everyone predicted Luton. And to be fair, up until when Luton got the 3-3, I thought they were going to get a point. But we United as well. They've beaten Chelsea and then they've lost then a few days later. They're just a poor team with a poor manager, and that's the only way I can describe it.
We mentioned Chelsea about there because we're talking about that Luton game, and they get the back-to-back ones, beat Palace. It's hard work against Palace. I mean, they made it very hard for themselves against Luton. They were cruising a 3-0. Yeah. Maybe you have to credit Luton because they really went for it 3-0 down, and they had a goal disallowed. The keeper made 2 unbelievable saves. He topped one up. I'm not sure how he saved it. And I mean, Chelsea were hanging on for dear life at the end. I mean, we've seen the best and the very worst of Chelsea in the first 70 minutes and the last 20 minutes plus out of time. I mean,
you see Thiago Silva after the game?
Well, I couldn't believe what he. I mean, an experienced player like him, I think he's been actually very poor this season, but I think it's down to what he's playing with. I think he's playing with such an experience.
And you have to forget
Chelsea have the same problem Spurs do at the moment, lack of discipline at times.
And you have to remember too, Thiago Silva's about 55 at this point.
I don't know how he's still going. I think he's 40 now this year.
He's 40.
So, I mean, but Chelsea did find a way to win, and they have been scoring more goals lately. Cole Palmer has been excellent, and we'll speak about him in a wee minute. But, I mean, is this the platform to Chelsea to kick on? Because when I do watch Chelsea, they are a better team than Man United, in my opinion. They look better. They play better football. They create more chances. Their biggest issue is they let too many in, and they don't take their chances. So, I mean, as bad as Chelsea have been, I think they're only 3 points behind Man United now. I mean, and at one point, United were well clear of them because even though United have been poor, they were winning games. Games they were winning the other ones.
And United beat Chelsea as well.
They beat them. That was probably Chelsea's worst performance of the season. But I mean, we've got some players back as well from injuries. Casido's looked a bit better in recent games, and Kunku's come on and made a difference. Mudryk looks to have improved a wee bit. So I mean, the signs are that Chelsea are going to get better. Now, I'm not sure by how much. I don't think it can get any worse, but I mean, it looks like now they're starting to climb that table a wee bit.
I think Chelsea's best bet for European football is probably winning one of the cups, and they're in a good position. They won the Carabao Cup. Obviously, I hope they don't. But
do you expect to be a Chelsea Liverpool final?
I would expect it. To be fair, if Middlesbrough want to do us a favour and we beat Fulham, I'll be happy.
You'd rather play Middlesbrough in the final?
I think playing Chelsea in a one-off game is always
it's a tricky game because they've got quality.
It's always I think if we had played them in the semi-finals, I think we would have won. So it's a strange one. But
I remember watching the draw and I was thinking the best draw Liverpool could have got was Chelsea. I thought of the 2 games, and especially the way it worked out. You know, if Chelsea had been playing Fulham, I think it would have been tight, but I think they'll be too strong for Middlesbrough, so you'll definitely meet them in the final. I think in the end, worst draw Liverpool could have got because Fulham have been decent in recent weeks, and you know the fact the first game's at home. If Liverpool, you know, if they have one of them nights where they can't put the ball in it, it becomes a very tricky second game at Craven Cottage.
And it's funny because the last time Liverpool won the Carabao Cup, it was Chelsea in the final, so they'll be looking for a bit of revenge, I would say. But I would say Chelsea have found a bit of form, but we've seen this again. Similar to United, they've won back-to-back games before in the season, and they go and have a stinker then the next game. So I think for Chelsea this season, it's for them. I would say success this season will be winning the trophy and at least trying to finish in the top 8, 7, which which is mad for
I
Chelsea.
think they need to be trying to get into Europe. I don't think our season in Europe's going to be, even if it is a Conference League, I still think they can get themselves back into Europe. Owen, it's time for us to select our team of the season so far. We've seen Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville do this the other night.
I think ours is very similar.
But I think a lot of these players pick themselves because I think there's been some outstanding performers this season. Now, it isn't the best 11 players we think in the league. It's performance based on the first 19, 20 games of the season. And if you're watching, feel free to put on your 11 in the comments and I'll put them on the screen. Owen, we're going to start with your team now. Me and Owen didn't share who we were picking. Before I only asked Owen before they started the podcast, they sent me his team because I want to put it up on the screen. So, Owen, I want you to talk me through your selections and why you picked these players and maybe players that you left out that you thought about putting them, but you selected somebody else. So, Owen, I'll run through your team quickly. Vicario and Nets, Trent at right back, Saliba and Van Dijk at centre back, Udogie at left back, Rice, Rodri, and Douglas Luiz in the middle. And then a front three of Salah, Bowen, and Son. So let's start with the goalkeeper, Owen. Was that a difficult selection? Because there has been some good goalkeepers in the league this year. Alisson's been very good. Vicario's been very good, as you say. But, I mean, was it difficult to pick him, or did you think he picked himself?
I think, obviously, Alisson's the better keeper. Alisson's the best keeper in the world, but I picked Vicario because of expectations, really, because I don't think anyone
expected. As well, Vicario's get the most XG prevented from any goalkeeper in the league this year, so he saved shots and chances that he probably shouldn't have.
I don't think even you as a Spurs fan, I don't think anyone expected him to come in and be this good.
I don't know if Callum's still watching, because the darts have started now. I know he's looking to watch that, but he actually laughed when he first signed him because he says, "Who's this boy?" And I actually says, "Look, from what I seen of him in Italy, I didn't see a lot of him, but I remember a video going around of a treble save he made before he signed before that time, but it came up again before he went to Spurs. But I mean, I have been surprised of how good he's been on the ball, and he does have a knack for producing saves that you don't expect. No, like Alisson's made in the past. I mean, Alisson obviously is the best, but I mean, do you think Spurs have got a real gem in him that he could be in a few years' time? He could push up that level.
He has all the tools, and I've watched PSG a few times this season, and Donnaruma's had a few clangers, so he'll be breathing down his neck going into the Euros as well. And as we've both said, Alisson's the best keeper, but you expect Alisson to do them things at this point. But when Vicario came in, nobody expected that. And I generally do think if Spurs had Lloris or Foster in goal, he would be nowhere near close to the top.
Right back, Trent. Was it an easy decision?
Who else is there really?
You know what? I'll speak about my team. I'll let you go through it. So Trent at right back was easy enough for you.
I think he's just been exceptional this season.
Yeah. It's funny because he's been excellent at times, coming on side and playing excellent. And we've seen him play. We've seen him play in midfield at times this season for Liverpool in certain games. He's never started a game in there, but he's come on and when they've had to change it, he's been on the midfield, and Gomez came to right back. And we've seen him play midfield at times for England, and I think Gareth Southgate's got a major headache because he likes to play with two sitters. Trent could be a sitter, but I think in the big games he'll opt to play a Phillips or a Conor Gallagher on there beside Rice. But I mean, the problem that Trent's got from his own perspective for England is if he doesn't play in the middle, Southgate will not select him at right back because of his weaknesses defensively. And it's crazy to think that a player like Trent might not be in England's best 11 at the Euro.
To be fair, I think he's brushed up a lot defensively. I think he has improved. He still has his lapses in concentration, but I think a few times
it's will select Walker as a thing.
Walker's a better all round right back, but for me, Trent's just been did you see a shot there on it? I don't know if he meant it, but the way he's the best passer of the ball, bar De Bruyne, that league. And I'll die in that hole.
Going to throw up Darren's team here because he left out Trent by accident there. I meant to put Trent on, so he's went Trent, Udogie at fullback,
I've just
Saliba and Van Dijk at the back, Foden, Rice, Rodri in midfield, and Salah, Bowen, and Garnacho up top. Not bad. We'll go through ones again here. So you've Saliba and Van Dijk at the back. Was that did them two pick themselves?
Again, and I think if Van de Ven had been fit, I think for most of the season, I think he would have been in there beside Van Dijk.
Would have been interesting for sure. You doggy at left back. He was one of the first names I thought on my team because I can't think of any other left backs out there really at the minute. I think if you look around Europe and especially in England, there's an abundance of good right backs. There's not as many good left backs. Now Spurs did tie him down to a new contract last week, a 6-year contract.
I seen Sarr with a contract today.
Who?
Sarr, didn't they? He
signed a new contract as well. They were on low wages, obviously, and because they've been playing so well, they've come on and they had to upgrade their contracts. But I think in the doggy situation, there's not a lot of left backs around. You look at Arsenal struggling for left back, Man City struggling for a left back.
Our two left backs are injured.
Exactly. These teams at Liverpool, these teams will be looking at someone like Udogie because he's got it all. He's good on the ball. He's powerful, quick. I mean, there was an incident against Brighton where I think a player tried to grab him back, but they had their two arms around his fist, and he still brushed them off and burst past them. And I thought, this boy, he's 20 years of age. He is going to be sensational.
The way he plays too, like obviously he's not as good as Trent on the ball, but he likes to invert and the midfield as well, like both of your fullbacks do.
Darren says Garnacho's got to be in because he's carrying Man United. Interesting. Moving on to midfield, you've gone for Rice, Rodri, and Luiz. All good players.
Yep.
But the only thing I would say about that is they're three holding players.
I know they are, but Luiz I just think he's brilliant. I take him at Liverpool.
He's been excellent. And I've actually selected two of these players that you've seen them, but I'll speak about them in a minute. But I've actually left one of these players out. And to give it away, actually, Luiz is one of them that's in because I found it very difficult to leave him out because he's been excellent for Aston Villa. And
that's why
he scored a lot of goals. Now, I know a few of them are penalties, but he's been excellent for Aston Villa. And I had to have a Villa player in there because of how well they've done.
I was thinking between Luiz and McGinn, but I think Luiz's has just popped it for me. But I know they're three holding players, but I couldn't leave any of them out. I just think they've been like Rodri speaks for himself. Although I do think in the last couple of games, Rice has sort of looked a bit tired. But I think overall in the season, I think for me those are the best midfielders. Although he's not been one of the best, but I'm going to give Endo a shout out. I think he's been underrated.
All right, was Rice the signing of the summer for you?
Do
you think if Liverpool had signed Rice, they would be 50-50 with Man City for the league?
I think if Liverpool had signed Luiz, it would have been as well. I know he's not. He's not half the player Rice is, but for me, Rice has been the best signing.
Our one would have been if Madison had stayed fit. He would have been first in that team.
I was just going to say that to you. And if Szoboszlai had have not fallen off a cliff recently, I think he would have been up there as well. The way he started,
yeah, he was an all I considered. But just thinking the last 6 or 7 games, he's been poor, and I just couldn't put him on.
I think he's out injured at the minute too.
Nah, he's done his hamstring, I think. And then your front three, Salah, Bowen, and Son. Now, I noticed there's no striker on there. I know Bowen's been playing as a striker at times. You've left Haaland out.
Only because I only left Haaland out because he's had injuries and he's been stop-start sort of.
And Bowen's done so well. He's feeding on scraps, isn't he?
Bowen's another one that I would take at Liverpool.
And Salah and Son, I mean, they must be the two best wide players of their generation. Because I know Son had a body up last season, but all or not, he's been pretty consistent. And again, I think he's got 12 goals as well. And Spurs have only actually had one penalty. So Son, a lot of his goals were open play. And I've seen today, Spurs actually scored the most goals from open play this season, 33. So again, Son, whereas Salah's had a few penalties to pick from, Spurs haven't had many. So a lot of Son's goals. And I've seen today, actually, Son, he's got the most goals from the lowest XG. So again, he scored goals where he possibly shouldn't score.
And a testament to them two players. I think if you put Son in the Liverpool and Salah in the Spurs, I don't think you see much of a drop off from either team there.
And we sort of missed that, but Son's going to be a big miss for Spurs, 100%.
Yeah, especially because you're a bit like Liverpool. Your all our wide players don't really score many, and then I know Richarlison's had a few goals recently, but he's sort of like Nunes in a way where he can fluff a few.
Fun enough, Owen's team's very similar to mine. There's only one difference, and so I've gone with Vicario, Trent, Saliba, Van Dijk, Udogie, all the same. Rice and Louise is in there, but I've went for Cole Palmer instead of Rodri. And I've went with Salah, Bowen, and Son too. So we sort of spoke about the rest of them, so I'll explain why I've picked Cole Palmer. I just think he's been absolutely sensational for Chelsea. I mean, to go there with that price tag on your back and a team that's really struggled, and I think he scored something like 9 goals in the league. And again, I know a couple of them are penalties, but I mean, I watched them on Saturday against Luton. Tight pitch, physical game. And the way he took the third goal, he just walks it into the net, really.
What I like about him too, he has an arrogance about him. Like, he knows he's good.
And I suppose Rodri and Haaland have probably dropped out because of the standards they set. They could easily be in this team, but I just thought Rice has made such an impact at Arsenal. I know they've dropped off in the last couple of games, but I think that's down to him possibly being tired and he's been overused. I think for the first 18 games he was outstanding. Louise
he's played every game, hasn't he, Rice?
And I think again the price tag 105 million to come on. We seen what happened to Casido, hasn't happened. 110 million on his back. So I mean, they played most 100 million players struggle, and Rice hasn't. Louise, as we said, had to have a volley play in there because of how well he played. Watkins was another one I considered for up front, but I just think Bowen, similar to Son, at times this season, I think he scored a lot of goals where he shouldn't score. Put them on tight angles, and he's maybe had one chance in a game and took it. Playing out of position, I think he's been excellent, and I think a lot of the top teams will be looking at him because he can play off the right or play through the middle.
I can generally
speak for themselves. I mean, a lot of the players I thought picked themselves.
Yeah. I can generally, I don't know about you, but I can generally see Bowen at Liverpool because I think Klopp really likes him. Much would you pay for him? Do you think? I've seen 80 million mentioned, and I don't know. I would go the highest. The highest I would go is probably 60, maybe.
Depends how many goals. I think he's at one stage this year he scored 6 in 6 consecutive away games.
I think he's the highest scoring English player, isn't he? I don't know if he still is.
Watkins and Ham must be tight. As I said, Watkins could have been on there. Haaland could have been on. Rodri could have been on. We spoke about Madison and Van de Ven, suffered with injuries. Szoboszlai, first 12, 13 games could have been on. But I think a lot of the others picked themselves. Do you know what? I really wanted to put Pedro Porro on because I think he's been excellent. But I just couldn't leave Trent out. It was impossible to leave Trent out.
Yeah. Trent, as many Liverpool players did last season, we had an off year, but I think as much as Salah's a big miss, I think if you take Trent out of our team too, that would be not a bigger miss, but it would be just as bad.
Because I was looking, Porro scored 3 goals, I think, and set up 7, which is pretty good for a right back. But again, Trent was just impossible to leave him out. And I mean, if he had scored that goal the other night, I think that beats Garnacho's. That's how good it would have been.
Just from the angle,
they even try that. I mean, it was incredible. And season prediction times. So again, I've asked the one today, and again, I've only seen this before we come on. So again, I didn't know until we were coming on. I asked them to send them to be put up on the screen. So again, if you're watching, feel free to put in who you think will win the league, who makes the top 4, and who's going to be relegated. Owen, you selected Liverpool as your winners, which you said Man City at the start of the season. So you've changed your mind. You've swapped Liverpool and Man City around. You had Arsenal in 3rd, and I believe you had Man United in 4th, and you've changed the Spurs on. I think your bottom 3 was the same as well. You went with Sheffield, Luton, and Burnley at the start of the season. So suppose talk me through the change between Liverpool and Man City. What's made you change now at the halfway point?
I don't know. It's probably bias as well, but I don't know. I just have a sneaky suspicion this year. I just think because of how bad last year went and how sort of surprising this season's went, I just think we'll get the job done this season. I don't know. I just think the stars are aligning.
And you've swapped out Spurs for Man United. Now, obviously, you'd be a fool to predict Man United from where they are. So, I mean, what made you pick Spurs over the other teams like Villa, Brighton, West Ham? What was the Newcastle's? Even you can throw United in there. What was the reason that you selected Spurs for 4th spot? I
just think when Spurs get all their players back, I just think they'll be hard to stop. I just think when Spurs have a fully fit squad, I think they'll be very dangerous. And I actually think if Spurs had a fully fit squad throughout the season, Spurs would be up there too with City, Liverpool, Arsenal, and whoever else was
Mm,
there.
I think that no European football would have really helped them.
Yeah.
But Darren's saying he agrees with you. Liverpool first, City second, Arsenal third, and Spurs fourth. Um, because we've got an amazing captain, Van Dijk. He thanks Burnley, Luton, and Forest. He thanks Sheffield United might get out of it. I'll put up mine here because they are a wee bit. Some of them are different. I've selected Man City as winners, so I've stuck with my original prediction at the start of the season. I've swapped Liverpool and Arsenal about. I had Arsenal in second and Liverpool in third. I've swapped them about. I think Liverpool now are definitely going to be the team that pushes Man City the closest. I've got my Arsenal in third, just because I think, and I've got my Spurs in fourth. I really just think Spurs are bound to get a couple more injuries with a high energy football they play. It's going to be inevitable. So I think it's going to be important in the summer for Spurs if they're in the Champions League next season. Like we're predicting here, they're going to have to go out and spend because they're going to have to replace quality with quality. Bottom three have changed. I had Burnley, Sheffield United, and Luton. I've predicted Luton now to get out of it. And I was thinking of the teams that if Luton are going to get out of it, who's going to go into it? And Everton at the moment are only a point ahead of Luton, but I think Everton have shown enough this season. And I do think as well they'll get some of them points back. I think maybe half of them they'll get back. Maybe they might get 5.
They'll get 5 points back.
Even if they don't, I still think they'll be okay. I think we've seen enough from. I know they're going through a bit of a sticky patch at the minute, but I thought they were excellent against Man City. I know they had a bit of an off day against Wolves, but they were excellent against Man City. They were excellent against Spurs. They were very unfortunate to lose both of them games, and you could point to decisions that didn't go their way, not just the chances they missed. So I thought who are the most likely, and Forest have looked good under Nuno. Surprisingly, I didn't see that, but they looked. It looks like that at the moment that was the right decision. As brutal
they could be getting the points deduction.
Well, it won't happen this year. If anything happens this year, I was reading the expert that it won't happen the following year. So no more points deductions this season. And then I thought if they're getting out of it, somebody has to drop in. And Palace have had a couple of results, and I just think as bad as Palace already watched, Hodgson will get them over the line. And I think with Eze and Elise back, they're stronger. I just worry that Mbuemo's out, and if Tony doesn't hit the ground running, I just don't see where Brentford are going to get the goals. And I think whereas Brentford were in a lot of 50-50 games at times over the last, they were nicking these games or not losing. They're losing these games now, and they seem to be stuck on that 19 points for that long now. That I just really worry for them. They're on a really bad run. That they could be the team that goes. I think it'll be tight, but I just think Luton, the unity Luton have at the minute, kind of reminds me of how Brentford were. Yeah, I just think that Luton, they're giving everybody a game, especially at home, and I just think they could keep them up.
I actually saw today about Palace too. Olise's done his hamstring, and I think so. He's
that'll be a big loss then.
He's out for now. He's a player too. Like if Olise has a good career or stays fit for a good, he'll be looked at in the summer for a lot of teams.
Darren makes a good point. Their best hour attacking players are away to the nations now, the African Cup of Nations in Musa. So I just don't see where the goals come from. And unless Tony hits the ground running, I don't think they will sell him because of the position they're in now. I think that works against everyone. It would take a monster bid to get him out because they're worried about staying in the league.
Where do you think he ends up in the summer then? Do you think Arsenal go for him in the summer?
I think he goes to Arsenal in the summer. Possibly for less than that 80 million. I think you'll probably get him for 60 maybe in the summer. Because I think he would only have 1 year left in his contract in the summer. So Brentford's position becomes slightly weaker.
Well, if your prediction comes true, they won't be in the Premier League next season, so they mightn't get that big money.
Well, that's we've seen it with Madison. Didn't we? Spurs got him for 40 million. You never would have got him for 40 million if he was in the Premier League. So, and let's talk about the managers. I mean, before we do, our comment coming on. He thinks Spurs. I don't see it. Don't see Spurs paying the money.
Spurs need a striker, but I can't see them going. I don't think Tony fits the way Spurs play.
I don't think so. We'll take him, but I don't think he would suit the style of play. Owen, we've seen this week Rooney was sacked by Birmingham after 15 games. We've seen Lampard struggle at the likes of Chelsea, Everton. Gerrard struggled with Villa. Now he's on the verge, I'm hearing, of losing his job in Saudi Arabia. 11 games.
They haven't won a game in 2 months or something. That was a great decision there, Handel, wasn't it?
You know, I've looked at that golden generation today, Neville failed at Valencia.
Yep.
Terry hasn't worked out for him so far. He's been assistants, but hasn't gone on to it yet. He's tried to get on the jobs. Apparently he's not interviewed well. Ashley Cole's been a number 2, and you can look at he's worked a lot with Rooney, hasn't worked out. Gerrard, Lampard hasn't worked out. Scholes didn't work out for him at Oldham or at Salford. Michael Owen and Carragher haven't been done yet. Beckham hasn't done.
So I don't think Carragher ever will.
No, well, he's probably looked at some of these boys and think, nah, don't fancy it. A lot of these world-class superstars have failed. I mean, why do you think that's happening for?
Probably it comes down to owners too, probably, because they probably think.
Do you think some of these managers are trying to run before they can walk in the management game?
I think
some of the jobs. Lampard's Chelsea, Gerrard's been at Villa, Rooney at Birmingham. Big jobs.
I suppose the only thing with Gerrard is he's had a wee bit of success with Rangers, I suppose, but other than that, it's been devastating. Like, and I know years ago there was a lot of talk of Gerrard being Klopp's successor, but I think never going to happen now. But I think a lot of these owners too, I think they see a big name like Rooney and think he was a great player, so that automatically means good manager. But you've seen it. Klopp's come out and said he was a terrible footballer, and he's one of the best managers. Mourinho, I don't think Mourinho was a great player, or if he even was a player.
Third division in Portugal.
I mean, Nuno at Forest, he was like a backup goalkeeper, I think. So it just shows that just because you've been a world class footballer doesn't mean you're a world class manager. And obviously, you can have a bit of both. Like if you look at Xabi Alonso at Bayer Leverkusen, they're not one of the biggest teams in the world, but the way they play football at the minute is mad, and you see how he's getting linked with Real Madrid, Liverpool. But again, that could be another case of walking before you can run, because if he goes from Leverkusen, they just say Real Madrid
or Liverpool, it's a big step up.
And if that goes wrong, then that's his career not ruined, but it's a big black mark against his name. So it is interesting while they fail. It's hard to.
Let's talk about Wayne Rooney, because he's the boy in the news at the moment. Sacked by Birmingham after 15 games. He only won 2 of them games. 2 of the
playoffs when he took over 2, weren't they?
They were in the top 6, and now they're sitting 20th. I mean, there was a lot of publicity when this happened a few months ago. A lot of Birmingham fans couldn't really see why they made the change, but apparently it was already in the pipeline from the summer. They just had to wait for the season in America to finish it. It was where was he at? DC.
Dallas, DC,
yeah. And he didn't pull up any trees there. He didn't pull up any trees at Derby. So he definitely got the job based on his name, I feel like. And
yeah.
I mean,
I think with Birmingham, I think they have Tom Brady, the NFL player. Like he's like I don't know if he's full owner or he's half owner. I think he was a big person.
Rooney was put on double the highest wage of any manager in the championship. So again, it wasn't even earned because he didn't have the CV to earn that. But again, it was his name. Should he have been appointed in the first place? I mean, what has Rooney done to suggest he was the best fit for that Birmingham job and management?
It's nothing really. Like as you say, he didn't pull up any trees at DC. He didn't do that much at Derby, and Birmingham were in a good position. I would sort of understand it if they were sitting in the relegation zone and your man had no hope of. I don't even know who their manager was before Rooney, to be honest. But I think he was Spanish or something.
No, John Eustace.
But like they were sitting in the playoffs. Now, obviously, they could have fell off anyway. But why sack a manager when you're in a good position in the league? Like, and the championship's not a league. Like, it's not an easy league to get out of. You've seen Ipswich, they look like sure bets to get promoted, and they've sort of struggled in the last few games that I've seen.
I mean, who do you think's to blame? Because is it down to the owners for maybe looking for these glamour names? You know, a lot of it's down to relationships as well. We know the American tie-in with the Brady. We've seen it Villa, Christian Purslow, former Liverpool man, was there and got Gerrard on. Maybe down to relationships, but I mean, these are Gary Cook at Birmingham was an advisor for Man City when the takeover come on, and you know he obviously knows what he's doing. So surely these boys have got to be advising these owners, look, this isn't the right move. And then they flip that around. They've balanced. Rooney, the likes of Rooney, Lampard, Gerrard. I know it's easy to say it because it's a big opportunity when it comes, but surely they got to be thinking, you know what, it's not the right move at this time, and it could really damage me. And it has damaged them because Lampard's scratching around for a job. Gerrard had to go to Saudi Arabia, and I don't know where Wayne Rooney goes now because he says he still wants to come back under management, but I think his reputation's been severely damaged.
Where, as you say, where does he go after getting sacked after 15 games? Like, will a club in Saudi take him? I don't think so. Like, will a club? Well, I think he would. I don't know, and I don't think.
From what we hear, he tried to overload the players with too much information too soon, and that's like a schoolboy error in coaching. You don't do that. You drop feed information, otherwise you'll lose the players. And that just shows you that he wasn't cut out. He wasn't ready for a job like this. So I mean, who is they blame? Do you think is it a bit of both owners, or should the actual players themselves say, do you know what, I'm going to go to League Two and learn my way before I step foot in the Championship?
Sure. You seen him. You seen him with Lampard. Like, his first job was Chelsea, wasn't it?
No, with Derby and then Chelsea.
Derby, yeah. But like, going from, no disrespect to Derby, like they're a historical club, but going from Derby to Chelsea, it's like it's a very big step, and it didn't work out at all. And as you say, Rooney, I think a lot of it is down to these players' egos as well. They probably think, oh, I can come on here, and because I was a great player, I'm automatically, I know so much about the game that these players are going to listen to me because I'm Wayne Rooney, because I'm Steven Gerrard. But it doesn't work like that. Like,
you say with Roy Keane, you have to be a good man manager. And it looks like these boys aren't good man. Look at the difference in Villa compared to Emery and Gerrard.
Gerrard, I think when he was at Villa, didn't he dropped John McGinn, didn't he? He didn't fancy him. He didn't fancy Tyrone Mings. I think he didn't was it Douglas Luiz as well? He wasn't a big fan of. And look at them players thriving under a top class coaching in Emery. So it's a weird one because when Gerrard first burst on the scene of Rangers, like, and won the league there, I was thinking, right, he's on to something here. You
could say that, but it's very hard to finish outside of the top two in Scotland if you're Celtic or Rangers, no matter who the manager is.
I suppose, but it is a difficult one, especially. And look at Gerrard.
Rooney come on with a big ego and he take full blame. I agree. I think he come on there, try to rock the boat, and it backfired big time.
Like, do you think, where, in your opinion, like, where do you think Rooney gets a job in even League Two?
That's what I'm going to ask, because I mean, the likes of Rooney, Gerrard, Lampard, they're young managers. You know, they're in their 30s. Gerrard maybe just in his 40s now, or Lampard and Gerrard maybe in their early 40s now.
I think Gerrard is a.
And that's young for a manager. You know, Rooney's not even in his 40s yet. Have they already destroyed themselves of managing at a top level? Because Gerrard's out in Saudi Arabia, yes, because there's big money, but because he's not got an offer that's and his eyes worth taking in England.
He's not been great there.
Lampard, since he left Everton, he went back to Chelsea for as a gun to hire, just he won for a few games for a payday. He knew he was never going to be kept on there. But I mean, since there, he's not been offered anywhere, he hasn't been linked. Rooney, I don't think at the moment's possibly in the worst position, because Lampard could point to maybe early success with Derby, getting them to the playoff final, and maybe doing his first season at Chelsea, got them under the top four when they were under a transfer embargo. He kept Everton up in that first season, you could say. So he maybe has some on his CV. Gerrard and we can point to Rangers, but I'm not sure how long that'll last after how bad Villa was. And as I said, Rooney is probably in the worst position. But I mean, you can't see Lampard at Chelsea again. You can't see Gerrard ever managing Liverpool, and you can't see Rooney ever. I can't even see winning the Championship. So I mean, has the bird already flew for these managers? Have they destroyed themselves too soon, too quick?
I think I'll go by the name, but I think Gerrard destroyed himself as soon as he went out to Saudi Arabia. I know Nuno's got a Premier League job, but he was already like a decent enough Premier League manager. And Lampard, I could see Lampard at like a League One team. I could actually see. I don't know. I just see.
I think that's the logical thing.
Yeah,
Darren saying Rooney needs to go in there in his trade and hopefully earn a decent job after. And I think Darren made a great point when he says about Rooney's ego.
Yeah.
Do the likes of Gerrard and Lampard and Rooney, do you think they look at League One and League Two and think, I'm too big for that. Do you think personally they believe they should be managing higher than that, even though they haven't really earned it because of their names? Is that the biggest problem with these superstar names going to management, that they feel that maybe League One and League Two is beneath them?
Darren's probably right. They've had so much success in the game. They've won everything, well, more or less everything. JR's case, but they've won the big trophies. They've been to international tournaments. Like, so, if you stick Rooney, JR, or Lampard in a League One, League Two job, they're like, I've been in the world stage here. Like, what am I doing here? But I just think at the top level, I think their careers are done already, and I was going to say that I could actually see Lampard at like a Wrexham in the future. Like, I could see something like that happening randomly.
For the documentary.
Yeah.
Let's move on, and we'll finish off by talking about the FA Cup one, because it is back this weekend. They'll come on and think, right, lads, I've been here, done it, I'm the man. And I think Darren summed it up well with ego. And that's just not how it works, because if it was that easy, everyone would be doing it. I mean, the FA Cup's back this weekend, though, a famous competition. Viewed by, I would say, the likes of my father loves the FA Cup. Darren probably has been on before and said how he loves the FA Cup. Our generation, I still love it, but I'm not sure it's viewed in the same light by our generation.
I mean,
wholly. I mean, do you still look at this as a major trophy for Liverpool? I mean, if Liverpool, you've already said, if Liverpool loses Sunday, you're not that bothered. So, I mean, that would suggest that you don't feel it as important as it once was.
No, I think my perspective on it comes with a bit of a caveat, like, because of Liverpool's position in the league. Like, Liverpool's sitting top of the league at the minute, and I think, like, would I rather won the league or the FA Cup, and it's always going to be the league. But for me, I love the FA Cup. Like, it's my first memory as a Liverpool fan is watching the 2006 final, the Gerrard final, as it was called, against West Ham. Like, that's the first match I remember watching as a fan. So if we lose, I'm not going to be raging. Like, I'm not going to be on here ranting and raving. But if we were to get the semi final, or like, of course we want to go on and win it, but I think, as I say, if it comes down to Liverpool winning the league or FA Cup, I'm going to go with the league. But as you see with Man City last season, they went for everything and they won everything. So,
on the season before, Liverpool were they won 2 finals, second in the league and second in the Champions League. So can't be done, but it is hard. I mean, you made an interesting statement there. If it came to the league and the FA Cup, at one point the FA Cup was as big as the league. The FA Cup winners were viewed almost in the same light as the Premier League winners, which is crazy. Compared to now, it's nothing like that. But I mean, what do you put that down to? I mean, have the financial incentives of the Premier League, we've seen that new TV deal that's coming on, it's going to even make it even more money in the Premier League, and the fact of the Champions League, the money involved in that, has it destroyed the value of the FA Cup? That the owners and basically a manager's brief when they come on is, look, league. If you're a Liverpool or a Man City or a Man United, for example, it's very much league. You're judged on the league and the Champions League. If you're a mid-table team, it's all about, can you get into Europe? And if you're a team fighting relegation, it's all about, can you stay up? So I mean, all these owners stress the importance of league, and if you're in Europe. I mean, has that destroyed the value of the FA Cup?
Probably has, but it all depends for me as well on your league form. Because if you look at a United now and a Chelsea, they'll be thinking this is one of our, well, for United, it's their only chance of winning the trophy, so they'll probably go all out for it. And the likes of Spurs,
I get that, but the likes of United will probably be looking at this. We still need to try and get ourselves top 6 minimum to the Europa League.
Yeah, but when you put it that way too, the likes of Spurs, who haven't won a trophy in 10, what is it now, 12 years, 13 years?
15.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But for Spurs, like, would you not love it now if Spurs went on a good couple and got the final? And so
personally, but I know Daniel Levy, and I know he wants the top 4 for a trophy. And you know what? I don't blame him in that way, because
it's because
every owner feels the same way. So how can I hold him in any different light? He'll look at the financial aspect, and the brutal reality is winning an FA Cup's great for the fans, but if we're in the Champions League, we've got a bigger transfer budget in the summer, and that's just the reality of it.
It's sad, like, because as Darren says, and I do love the FA Cup. Like, it's the best cup competition in
Do you know what?
England.
This weekend, I love the FA Cup third round. See this weekend, I'll be glued to the scores at 3:00. I never really bother watching the scores. I always stick on like a game on my Fire Stick, the 3:00 game, maybe a pack of the games. They watch that, but this weekend I'll just be tuned to the scores. Football Focus. I know you usually watch Soccer Saturday, but I'll probably stick on BBC Football Focus.
Yeah. Well, I'm the same. I always. Like, I'm looking forward to. I don't know. Is the Newcastle Sunderland game on TV? I would assume it is.
ITV, 41 on Saturday.
Like, I'm looking forward to watching that, because you don't get them games anymore because Sunderland aren't in the Premier League. It's like it throws up. That's what I mean. But you don't see the small teams winning anymore because the Premier League teams have so much finances.
The last team I remember winning it
Wigan.
was Wigan.
Yeah.
And you think about it, years ago, the likes of West Ham were winning it, and Burnley won it. I remember one year, so this is way back. But that, I remember, I think Spurs won it in 1901, and they were the first non-league team, the only non-league team they ever won it, which is crazy.
Like, that's never going to happen again.
You wouldn't even see a championship team possibly win it anymore. I mean, the FA Cup winner, as much as a lot of the top teams are criticised for rotating their teams, it's usually a top 6 team wins it. Well, you could even exclude Spurs, to be fair, because they haven't won it since 1981. But it's usually Man United, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, or it's usually one of them teams won it.
I mean, like, if you think about it, Man City won it last year. Liverpool won it the year before. I can't remember who won it the year before that.
Arsenal have won it a fair few times in the last few years. Chelsea have won it. GC United have won it. Man City, Liverpool. So it's usually one of them big clubs won it. Darren's saying it's a massive thing for my generation to get the FA Cup final. It's a magical thing, upsets, giant killings. It's a chance for every team to get their chance to play the big boys, and I totally agree. And James is saying, again, that older generation, my favorite competition. And my dad's the same. He absolutely loves it.
It's like Wigan are playing United now the weekend or Monday, and I obviously expect United to win. But if Wigan did pull off a shock, like, it would create headlines everywhere. Oh, I'd be laughing all the way to the bank. Like,
I've seen a lot of people rename and still name it, a lot of the journalists this weekend, the best weekend of the year. But I wonder, is that the feeling amongst Premier League fans? I mean, are you looking forward to this weekend more than you were looking forward to, say, the Arsenal game 2 weeks ago or so, or 10 days ago? I mean, as the feeling that it's the best weekend of the year, is that only applying now to the likes of the Championship, League 1, League 2? Do you see the Premier League fans, they prefer maybe the Premier League being on? I mean, I'm going to ask you, are you looking forward to this Sunday more than you were looking forward to last Saturday?
No.
And that's the thing, isn't it?
But I'm still looking forward to the game. Don't get me wrong. As much as I say I'm not bored if we lose. Like, I don't mean I'm not bored. Like, I'll be disappointed if we get put out. Like, but I'm still looking forward to the game. Looking forward to watching it. Like, I'll always, no matter what football's on, I'll always stick it on. Like, and as I say, I'll be watching some of the games, and Liverpool Arsenal, no matter what like, if you think about it, like, Liverpool Arsenal have a good history in the FA Cup too. The Michael Owen final back in 2001, I think it was.
Goodness knows how Liverpool won that game.
I think I was 2 at the time, but I've seen highlights of it, and like, as you say, your dad's generation, my dad's generation, like, they're all big FA Cup fans. But I don't know, it's maybe for our generation, maybe we're spoiled with the Champions League, and maybe we're spoiled with the Champions League.
This new Champions League format's going to do any favors either, because there's more games.
Yeah.
I sort of predicted how your answers would go. So I sort of this next one I put on because I thought it would come up. All the things you point out to me, it's almost like it's inconvenient. The fact that they have to play Arsenal this weekend in the FA Cup, and the fact that if it's a draw, you were saying you'd rather lose than draw because the inconvenience of a replay. As it just seen now by the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, United, Man City, Spurs, for example, Chelsea, do they just see this as inconvenient? That the fact there's replays, and maybe the scheduling doesn't help, but it's just after this Christmas period and there's so many games the third round do that. We'll see. I think out of the 20 Premier League teams this weekend, I would say all 20 will rotate.
Aye, they have to because they're like if he put Liverpool, I don't know. Is there any other Premier League ties this season? I know there's Burnley and Spurs, but is there any other ones?
Palace play Everton tomorrow night. Kicks it off.
Like our Palace,
Brentford playing Wolves, Spurs playing Burnley, Arsenal, Liverpool.
maybe for the likes of for the likes of for as you said the elite clubs for the likes of Everton, they haven't won a trophy since 1995.
But
As
Everton are
we
more focused on staying in the league, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what I mean. And the likes of Luton as well, they're more focused on staying in the league.
Right.
It's
this has created a lot of debate. Now, this is the last season of FA Cup replays. It will be scrapped next year because of this new European calendar.
Yep.
Now, it's a lot of criticism. There's a lot of criticisms amongst the lower league teams because it's going to cut their finances. If they were to say draw a big club and hold them to a draw, they wouldn't get the chance to maybe say they went to Old Trafford and got a draw. They wouldn't get the chance then to host them. They wouldn't get the extra TV money that the second game would create. Whereas the top clubs don't need the TV money because they're already going to get this TV money from the Premier League. So, I mean, where do you stand on that? Will you be happy to see the end of replays?
I mean, I get where
I'm not putting you on the spot, but from a Liverpool point of view, you have to look at it from your Liverpool hat on.
It's like,
do you see this as a benefit? Does it benefit Liverpool?
Of course it does. Like, because if we go and if we say we get like a I don't know small team Wigan and say we get Wigan and we draw, we get to go to extra time. I know for them it's lousy, like, but for me as a Liverpool fan, I don't want replays, and I also think they're scrapping. I think this is the last season of second leg semi-finals as well in the Carabao Cup. I think that's not happening next season later as well. So that's another thing. But
you see, the thing is, the FA Cup final was a massive day. The BBC ran a full day of how both teams got there and what the teams done the week running up to the day. And some teams even released a cup song. That doesn't happen anymore. They also moved the game to tea time. It was usually 3 o'clock on Saturday. And interestingly, last year was the first time it kicked off at 3 o'clock for the first time in, I think, 12 years. And that wasn't down to anything else other than the police wanted the game moved because it was a Manchester derby. They didn't want the fans having more alcohol and then 5:30 kickoff. So I'd imagine this year, if it's not a derby, if it's not two teams, a local derby, it'll be moved to the normal 5:30 slot. So, I
think the year Liverpool won it, I think it was a 4 o'clock kickoff.
So I remember, I think briefly that the coverage used to start at 9 o'clock in the morning and the game kicked off at 3.
Yeah. Sure, they've even done that with the Champions League. Like, even years ago, the Champions League final used to be on a midweek, and now it's on a Saturday night.
I mean, it begs the question, and I want to throw the Carabao Cup on this as well. What should be done, do you think, to revolutionise these cups? Because, as you say, the likes of Spurs, Newcastle, Everton, Villa haven't won a trophy for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And they could really do a trophy, but I mean, the problem they've got is the Champions League and even the Europa League finishing top 6. The money, the prize money in places, even for a team that were finishing maybe 15th and 10th, there's a lot of difference in prize money compared to the money you get from the FA Cup. So, I mean, what should be done to help these two competitions get a bit of glamour back, especially the FA Cup?
It's a hard one, like, because I always thought with the League Cup, with the Carabao Cup especially, I always thought, I know Liverpool have won it the most times, but I think it's better if they just don't put the big teams in it. That's the only thing. And the Carabao Cup.
Well, I think with this new calendar coming up next year, European, I think the League Cup is going to be totally, especially the European teams in Europe, they're just going to play really weak teams.
They're 21 games.
I think I spoke about this at the start of the year when the Carabao Cup chat was coming back. I would be all for this, and it would definitely make it more interesting. It might not help Spursy because they aren't notoriously a team that finishes first or second, so therefore might not be in Europe every year. But I think it will make the cups more competitive. Why not have it that the third and fourth place doesn't get the Champions League? It goes to the FA Cup winners and the Carabao Cup winners. So you've got the first. You've got if the 4 teams from the Champions League are from England, or the team that finishes first, the team that finishes second, the FA Cup winners and the Carabao Cup winners. Because if that's the case, all the likes of Spurs, the likes of Chelsea, Arsenal, if Liverpool are sitting 5th, say, and they're a few points off second, and they've no chance of really getting there, they're going to go right. FA Cup's massive now because that's our route into the Champions League. I think that would be a massive thing. I don't know.
I think at the minute, isn't it, the Carabao Cup winners and the FA Cup winners get Europa League, isn't it? I think that's the thing.
Darren thinks that would be a good idea.
You see that?
I just think it would personally make these cups a lot more competitive because all of a sudden teams are looking, well, this is a route into the Champions League, and only 2 teams can finish first and second. So you look at the top 6, the big 6. They say it's usually the big 6 that finished in the top 6. I know Newcastle broke on there last year, but for a number of years it was kind of them 6, and Man City were always first. So it was kind of Liverpool were second for a few years and won the league, but it was kind of the rest of them battling out for third and fourth. Whereas the FA Cup and the League Cup's wide open, so I think it will make it much more competitive.
Do you think if they announce now tomorrow, I know they won't, but do you think if they announce now tomorrow, right, whoever wins the FA Cup gets Champions League, all the big teams, not big teams?
Well, you can't do it. You can't do it in the middle of the season, but you could. If you announce it before the start of next season, I think.
Yeah.
Personally, I think the fans will be all for it because you know what? It's a lot harder to win an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup than it is to finish third or fourth in the Premier League. 100%.
Don't get me wrong. Like as I say, like Liverpool, if we won the Carabao Cup. If we win the Carabao Cup, I'll be happy. Like, it's a trophy.
And as I say, look, and if it works out that say Man City and Liverpool finish first and second, and Man City won the League Cup and Liverpool won the FA Cup, then third and fourth do get in because obviously they're already qualified. But that won't happen every year. So that's that argument. If someone was to go, well, what happens if teams the teams? So there's your thing. It goes to third and fourth if the FA Cup and Carabao Cup winners come first and second in the league. That would be my way of doing it.
Well, I can't see that ever happening though, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately it won't, but I think that will be one way of.
I do think eventually the League Cup will be scrapped altogether. I do think that eventually.
Unfortunately.
It's not even that.
Let's finish off.
It's a competition. It's a competition that changes its name every third year, so that shows.
That's it. And I think a lot of the teams in a lot of the European leagues have scrapped League Cup as well. It's basically only one cup. There's a league and there's a cup. We have 2 over here, obviously, with the League Cup and the FA Cup. But let's finish off by predicting some of these games. Obviously, there's 32 ties, so we'll be here all night if we're going to predict all them. I've just focused on the games that are on TV. So it kicks off tomorrow night. Crystal Palace against Everton. Obviously, these are difficult games to call because you don't know who's going to rotate. But I always think the team at home tends to rotate less, and the team away tends to rotate more. So I think home advantage can be key in these games. How do you see that go tomorrow night?
I'm going to go Palace 1-0. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. I'm going to go 1-0 Palace.
I think he won't be far away, but I don't know. I think it's got replay written all over it. Darren saying Everton. I think it's going to be a replay. I think I'm going to go 1-1.
Back to give us some go then.
Darren, James says Crystal Palace. So I few. So James saying Crystal Palace like you and Darren saying Everton. I'm going to go for a draw. 1-1 back to Goodison in 10 days' time. Spurs against Burnley Friday night. It's on TV as well. Palace, Everton's ITV4. Spurs, Burnley, ITV1 on Friday night at 8 o'clock. This is a good draw for Spurs, you think? Burnley's really out of sorts. They're probably going to rotate as well. Even if Spurs rotate, I still think. Don't think Spurs can rotate because they're so light in players. I think that's the thing. They might make 1 or 2 changes, but they're so short.
I'm gonna go 3-0 Spurs. I think that's an easy bet.
James says Spurs all day. Darren saying 3-0. I'm going to agree, Darren. 3-0-1.
If Burnley do one, like I will be laughing.
Sunderland against Newcastle. I think that's also ITV1 on Saturday, 1:45. Probably the glamour tie. I know Arsenal's playing Liverpool, but I think this is really the glamour tie. I think both teams will go strong because it's a derby. Newcastle are kind of down to bare bones as well. Can't really rotate. Sunderland definitely won't. Big derby, sold out 46,000, I think it holds.
It's madness.
Tell you what, it's a tricky game to call. How do you see it?
I'm going to go 2-1 Sunderland. We're Bellingham winner. I think Jude Bellingham will have a good game.
Darren saying draw. James saying Newcastle. I'm going to go for a draw. 1-1 and back to St James's Park.
I would love Sunderland. They won it just because it'd be great for their fans.
100%. Middlesbrough against Aston Villa, I believe, is on BBC One on Saturday at 5:30. Middlesbrough are a funny team, up and down this season, but they've done well in the FA Cup. They've done well in
Michael
the FA
Carrick.
Cup over the last few years, but the problem they've got with this is they've got the League Cup semi-final at home to Chelsea on Tuesday. So I think that'll be their priority because it's a semi-final. And to be honest, if Middlesbrough with it, I can understand why, because they're in a semi-final of the League Cup. So I think this favours Villa.
I'm going to go 2-0 Villa.
2-0 Villa. I'll go the same. 2-0 Villa. Comfortable one. Villa, no shocks here. Arsenal against Liverpool. BBC One as well, I believe. 4:30 on Sunday. How do you see it going?
You know what? I've never done this, but I'm going to go in Arsenal one. I've never done it, but obviously I want Liverpool to win. But I think we'll just rotate, and I think Arsenal won't rotate as heavy. So I think Arsenal will nick it. You know.
Darn saying draw. I think it'll be a draw as well. I think it's going to be 1-1 and back to Anfield. I don't think both teams will like it, but I think that's how it'll go. I think it'll be very tight. James, thanks Liverpool.
I think, because I don't like predicting Liverpool they lose, I'll change it. I'll go 1-1 then.
Back to Anfield. And finally, Monday night, ITV1, I believe, Wigan against Man United.
Wigan 5-0.
I wouldn't say it's a derby, but they're
close.
Proximity, both northwest. So Wigan will be up for this. League One, though, Premier League, difficult. But it's been done before. How do you see it?
5-0 Wigan. No, I'm going to go 3-1 United. I do think Wigan will get a goal.
I agree. I think United will have too much. I'll go 3-1 as well, United. And that brings us to the end of the show. We says we're going to do 2 hours. I can tell you that we've done 1 hour 56, so I wasn't far off. Wigan 1-0. I suppose before you go off, no, Darren's a Liverpool fan. So before I go off, I mean, have you looked at any of our fixtures? Do you see any big shocks this weekend happening?
To be honest, I couldn't tell you who's playing apart from the ones we've just said.
Well, I think that tells you the interest in the FA Cup we're speaking about there. It's just not there for you. James is saying fantastic show. James, thanks very much for sticking with us. I know it's a long show. We're going to go off now a couple months and watch the end of the darts. I'm not sure how it's going, but I'll catch the end of it. And funny enough, we scheduled the show night because we were thinking that there was no football on the night, so it would be great for people to be entertained. But obviously the darts was on too, and I can tell from the viewers the many we had in the first hour and pretty noise went down because there's a wee corner in my top left screen tells me he's watching. You see, so the darts just definitely took a few away from us. But look, you can never organise anything. Darren saying thanks very much, brilliant lads. Cheers, Darren. We'll get you on very soon. In the next few weeks. Littler playing well. What's the score, Darren? I actually fancied Littler. They won.
Before we go off, I forgot that I was going to do some mad predictions for the year.
Absolutely. Pick us up. We have 2.5 minutes left till 2 hours. So, Owen, 2024 is here. Have you any? Well, 1 second. 3-2 Littler's up. So there you go. Have you any outlandish predictions that we've talked about teams that may win leagues, or is there anything you think in 2024 is going to happen that's going to shock us?
Man City do get charged.
You think so?
I think so. Not with all 100, and I think Pep Guardiola leaves. That's me too.
Interesting. Not bad. Not impossible.
Nah.
But I don't think either will happen, unfortunately. I know that's what you're hoping for, but I don't think so. I'm going to throw it out there. My prediction is Spurs are going to win a trophy in 2024. I'm going to back Spurs to win the FA Cup.
I think I said Spurs would win the FA Cup at the start of the season.
James is saying West Ham in the top 4. Oh, tell you what, that's a big one there. But do you know what? They're not that far away. But I think you've seen them all right. Without Paqueta and Kudos, they look light.
I would love Vardy.
And there's been talk of this. I don't know how serious that is. He's saying Mbappe signs for Liverpool in the summer.
See, I'm not even joking. See if that happens, no.
You're right.
I can't see it.
Owen, thanks very much for coming on. It's been 2 hour show, so thanks for the viewers for sticking with us. We says we're going to do longer night because we must obviously the weekend before because I was away. But we are back for the long term now. We'll be back on Tuesday night. We'll not do it Monday, I think, because Tuesday night we don't want to go early Monday in case there's a big shock at the DW list again on Monday night. So how long on Tuesday? I think Tuesday night Middlesbrough's playing Chelsea, so we shouldn't have too much hassle.
Yep.
Liverpool play on the Wednesday, so we'll do it on the Tuesday night. And we'll speak about the FA Cup. Maybe look at some big shocks if there is any. There always is, so we'll see. Darren saying class, lads, and see you Tuesday. Thanks very much, Darren, for watching.
Yes.
And make sure if you're new around here to smash the like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content in 2024. Happy New Year to all the viewers. Happy New Year to you all.
Cheers, lad.
And thanks for doing the show.
No bother.
And we'll see you soon.